The world I once lived in was destroyed. Amidst the lightning that tore across the sky, a spatial gate opened. From it, countless monsters poured out screaming ferociously. Humanity was forced to fight the monsters, to survive. The protagonist, a young man with golden hair, also dedicated his entire life to slaughtering them. He once faced a monster, fighting until he was gasping for breath, his body covered in wounds. Day after day, year after year, he never stopped fighting. But even with just a single sword, he could cut down any kind of monster. Gradually, he grew up in a baptism of fire. A month passed. Then a whole year went by as light as a fleeting breeze. But even when facing a colossal enemy that radiated a terrifying aura, he didn't flinch. Standing tall amidst a sea of flames, his bright blue eyes stared directly at the enemy. That was the one behind it all, the one who had destroyed his world. He spoke arrogantly, "Give up. The world you once knew has fallen. Don't waste such talent, become my sword." He bit his lip, his eyes still filled with rage. The protagonist replied, "Cut the crap." And then he roared and charged forward to attack. Attack! The blade grazed him, causing his hand to bleed profusely. His eyes widened in surprise at being wounded. A fierce battle erupted. The enemy threw a powerful punch straight at him, making him spit blood. But during the clash, he roared, "No matter how you struggle against me, you're nothing but an insect." But the protagonist's eyes still blazed with fire, fearless. The battle between light and darkness had officially begun. He continued his charge, but was struck by the enemy's hand. Boom! He was slammed into the ground. Even so, he stood back up, with dirt and rocks still on him. He gathered all his strength, gripped the sword in his hand, and threw it at him. At the same time, the enemy also launched an attack. Before the protagonist was touched by him, the necklace and the enemy himself took a massive hit. The enemy angrily responded, "Ah, you bastard!" The protagonist stood like a soulless corpse from his injuries, but his necklace shattered, causing him to scream, "No, stop!" But it was all too late. His body was gradually consumed by the light, vanishing into dust. The battle ended in glory. A body covered in blood in its final moments, he slowly opened his eyes, looking up at the starry night sky with a faint smile. What a beautiful sight. But the scene changes to another place. The protagonist appears with black hair, wearing a white t-shirt. He walks leisurely through modern city streets. A dungeon gate flashes red, issuing a warning. Namsan Gate Grade B, minimum party of 3 required. Civilians are prohibited from passing. But he doesn't stop. A loudspeaker announces, "If you are not a hero, please stay away." But he keeps walking, heading straight for the gate in Yongsan District, Seoul. Another warning sounds. Warning, an unregistered person has just entered this gate. Without hesitation, he jumps over the barrier, passes through the gate, and rushes into the forest inside. As light filters through the canopy, a voice from ahead calls out to him. "Hey, young man." A group of heroes. One of them asks, "Are you lost? I don't know how you got in here, but we're about to leave. You can come with us." "Hey, look at him." A girl in the group whispers, "Look at his clothes. He doesn't look like a hero at all." The big man replies, "Yeah, he doesn't look like a hero at all." These days, porters have a pretty liberal dress code, but dressing like that is a bit much. "And what the hell is with that bag?" He sighs. "Probably another one of those useless porters. Brought in by some heroes and then abandoned, huh?" Hearing this, the girl says, "I don't think it's that bad." Meanwhile, the protagonist just scratches his head and replies gently, "I understand what you're thinking. I'm new here." The older man, who seemed to be the group's leader, tried to advise him. "I've seen many people like you. You think entering a gate means you can hunt monsters like on the internet? But that's suicide. You should start with an F-rank gate, and you need a hero license first." But he remained calm. "I understand you mean well, but I don't need it." He turned and walked away without another word. Seeing this, the two men behind exclaimed, "What the hell? What's with that look?" The leader stopped them and said, "Just let him go. If he won't listen to advice, then the only way is for him to learn from experience. He'll find out soon enough. Gates aren't like on TV or the internet. It's a cruel world." In front of him, a giant monster appeared, muscles bulging with the fierce face and fangs. It roared and charged to attack him, but he wasn't flustered at all, just calmly took off his backpack. His voice rang out full of meaning, 1 year. As soon as the monster swung its weapon, he moved like lightning, closing the distance. A powerful punch tore a large hole through the enemy. Then only a headless body remained, collapsing to the ground. The monster fell in a pool of blood. He added, "There's really no difference at all." His eyes were cold, blood-splattered, and full of killing intent. Light shone through the leaves. He stood silently looking at the monster's corpse. He slowly bent down, picked up a sword, and used it to extract a red stone from inside. The monster's corpse. A low-grade magic stone, he thought to himself. Before, I wouldn't have even bothered to glance at something this cheap, but now he put the stone in his bag. Just then, a loud noise echoed from the distance. His face was cold and alert. Then a new group of monsters appeared, their red eyes glaring as they roared madly. One swung its weapon to attack, but he dodged it. Without hesitation, he clenched the magic stone in his hand, spun around, and threw it hard at one of them. With a single move, he finished off one monster. Meanwhile, the monsters continued their assault. Cut to the group of heroes from before. The orange-haired girl said worriedly, "Do you think that guy is dead?" The black-haired young man next to her replied, "Are you worried about him?" The older man added, "If he was an intruder, the control center would have already sent someone to handle it." At the same time, a group of people in black suits were rushing in like moths to a flame. The older man was still explaining. "This Namsan gate is C rank. A combat team of B rank or higher will definitely be sent. As long as he doesn't go crazy and charge into a monster horde, he won't die." The short-haired guy added, "My brother is always right. That disrespectful brat is probably shaking in his boots right now, just waiting for agents to come rescue him." But completely contrary to their speculation, he was fighting the monsters all by himself. One monster was terrified of his strength. The protagonist destroyed a monster with a single punch. He dodged a monster's sneak attack, then jumped behind it, delivering a kick that sent it crashing to the ground. He then landed amidst the corpses, picked up the sword, and coldly noted, "3 more. On his way, he assessed his results. Didn't get much. So far, 12 low-grade stones, 16 low-mid-grade stones. Although the quantity wasn't impressive, he continued onward. Suddenly, a man in black appeared behind him and called his people over. "This way." The group in black suits appeared, blocking his path. They identified themselves as being from the gate control center and demanded to see his hero registration papers. "If you're not registered, please come with us to the center." He looked at them nonchalantly. "Gate control center." The leader immediately spoke in a stern voice. "Please cooperate and follow our instructions." He glanced at them, thinking, "Now what?" Then he replied in a cold tone, "What a pain." The leader ordered, "Cuff him." A blond man stepped forward, holding out handcuffs. "If you don't cooperate, we will use force. Any injuries resulting from resisting arrest will be your sole responsibility." As the man grabbed his arm, the protagonist, annoyed, grabbed the man's hand and twisted it back, making him scream in pain. "Don't bother me, get lost." Seeing this, the whole group immediately drew their weapons. The protagonist looked at their weapons and thought, "Level 4 magic seals. This is used to deal with orcs." Then he let the blonde man go and said, "This is your final warning. If you don't want to get hurt, get lost." Then 2 men in black suits charged at him, but he easily parried both attacks. Despite their continuous attacks, none of them hit him. He began to attack with his knee, then kicked another one away. Witnessing this, the leader was stunned and afraid. Seeing this, the protagonist instantly teleported to his position. One punch. It made him stare in shock as he staggered back, clutching his stomach. He asked coldly, "You?" The man clutched his stomach, gasping, What?" Then the protagonist asked, "As long as a hero is registered, there's no problem." He replied, "Yes, as long as they don't commit any illegal acts inside the gate, there's no reason for a special unit to be dispatched." He continued to ask, "What are the crack zones?" They are spaces that haven't been fully controlled, where monsters and magic stones appear everywhere, through the gates. Items obtained through hunting monsters. There are used as a new energy source. The government has sealed these passages completely and trapped the monsters inside. Those are the gates. As for areas that haven't become gates, they are called crack zones. "Yes," he replied calmly. "No matter which gate it is, you guys will show up, right? And then start rambling about illegal entry and whatnot." The man added, "Yes, that's right. If an unregistered person enters a gate on their own, the system will automatically notify the control center and agents on standby. Nearby will be dispatched immediately. Crack zones aren't as easy to get in and out of as gates. Even the Hero Association won't let it slide." Hearing this, the protagonist remained unfazed. "Is that so?" And the man thought to himself, "This guy is really insane. Damn it. I should have reported to headquarters from the start." Then he was thrown back by the protagonist. He thought, "What a bunch of good-for-nothings." The man collapsed and continued, "You bastard. Next time I'll definitely kill you." Despite being warned that he would be hunted down, he just shrugged and turned to leave. Back to the initial scene of the protagonist, fighting the giant monster. Hearing his scream, I lost consciousness. It felt like being sucked into somewhere. Death. I thought that was death. But then his eyes opened. He was falling suspended in a white sky. He asked, "Who am I?" A young man with black hair, Seodojin, stood waiting with a calm expression. He replied, "I am Seodojin. I'm about to die. If you accept my request, I will disappear quietly." But the protagonist firmly said, "I refuse." Seeing his disappointed face, the protagonist added, "I no longer have any attachments to life. After a year of fighting, I was betrayed by a trusted comrade. The country I lived in was destroyed. My friends died, and my family is also gone. No matter how I live, in the end, it's all meaningless. You're the same, aren't you?" Seodojin fell silent, his face tense. It doesn't matter what happens to my life. But I don't want Grandma and Eun-young to live like that. The protagonist sighed. So get to the point. What do you want? He replied joyfully. What I want is... Just then the scene shifts to the present. The protagonist goes to a shop that buys magic stones to sell his spoils, the ones he just obtained. I want to sell some magic stones. The man stood up cheerfully. Sir, you've come to the right place. We buy magic stones at the highest prices, not just in Seoul, but in all of Korea. Seeing him pour the magic stones onto the table, the man thought, damn it, he could have at least wiped the blood off before bringing them here. He added, ahem, you've brought quite a lot, sir. Please wait a moment while we sort them. While you wait, would you like some coffee? Afterward, the protagonist sat drinking coffee. After the man finished sorting, he said, there are 12 low-grade stones, 16 low-mid-grade, and 5 low-high grade. You know the transaction fee is 40% of the purchase price, right? If we calculate it. The total you'll receive is 5,460,001. While he was speaking, the protagonist interrupted, stop. I'm the one doing the hunting, and you guys are just buying. And the commission is that high? The employee replied, you don't understand the process, do you? Normally we'd haggle with you. That's why you're getting this price. If you don't want to sell, then take them back. You won't get a better price anywhere else. The protagonist immediately pulled back his hand and said, then I'm not selling. Immediately after, the employee grabbed his arm. Hey, wait, you have to pay the appraisal fee. And for the coffee, too. 10,000. 1 for the coffee. 300,000 for the appraisal fee. We even used a towel to wipe the blood for you. The towel is torn now, too. So that's 350,001 in total. He replied coldly, I don't have any money. If you want it, take it back. The employee's eyes widened. You'll pay dearly for this. We've got some C-rank heroes backing us up. You bastard. Just then a group of large men walked in. One of them asked, why'd you call me? Another troublemaker. The protagonist turned around, his expression unchanged, coldly staring at the man who had just entered. A moment later, the cashier and the protagonist were trembling. The hero was sent flying towards him. The room was unexpectedly quiet. Only the sound of the protagonist dusting off his hands remained. He walked up to the counter and said, 1% commission, I'll be back next time. He smiled. Cut to the protagonist's house. A stack of money is thrown onto the floor. The old woman and the little girl are stunned. Dojun, what is all this money? He replied calmly. A while ago, I lent a friend some money to open a shop. Now their business is booming. She asked suspiciously, you have a friend like that? Dojun just gave a faint smile. You know where I grew up? He's a friend I met there. The old woman replied, of course I know. The little girl next to her immediately asked, so does this mean we're rich now, Oppa? Dojun patted the girl's head and said softly, yeah, from now on we're rich. The little girl ran around the house shouting, we're rich! We're going to be millionaires! In Dojun's heart, he remembered the promise made when his soul entered this body. Seo Dojun, please let Grandma and Eun-young live in a place safer than anywhere else. After saying that, Dojun disappeared. When I woke up, I had become Seo Dojun, although I have no obligation to keep that promise. The safest house in Korea has a market value of 100 tael, 7 billion won. But I know if I regain my strength, everything in this world will be nothing. But for a sword god like me, this place is just child's play. He thought of the cracks, the gates, the monsters. All of them are much weaker than in my old world. But right now, less than a tenth of my power has been restored. A noise sounded from outside the door. Someone called out loudly, is Seo Dojun here? He stood up. I'll go see. You all just stay inside. Then Seo Dojun stepped out of the house and saw 2 men standing in front of the door, here to collect a debt. One of them said, Seo Dojun, you should pay on time, shouldn't you? The blonde one added, you owe a whole 48 million won. The protagonist sighed and thought, this is a loan the real Seo Dojun took out before he died. 5 million won, borrowed to pay for Grandma's hospital bills, has turned into a sum 10 times larger in just a short time. The tall man continued, you've been making money from the gates, right? Hand it all over. The blonde one added, we do everything by the contract, so don't feel like it's unfair. Instantly, Dojun threw a punch straight into one guy's face, sending him flying backward. Blood spurted from his nose. The other guy panicked and yelled, what the hell is this? Dojun said coldly, the amount I've already paid is over 9 million won. If anything, I'm the one who should be getting money back, right? The blonde guy asked, trembling, are you really Seo Dojun? Dojun moved closer and ordered, go tell your boss, I'll be paying him a visit soon. Cut to inside a shopping mall. The little girl, Eun-young, stared at the doll shelf in the store. Her eyes sparkling, she asked, can I buy one? Can I get a new doll? Dojun replied, you can. We've already bought clothes. Now you can buy anything you want. As he shared memories with Seo Dojun, his own feelings also began to change, even if it was just compassion for now. The old Seo Dojun had been very gentle with Eun-young, his half-sister. The girl asked again, Appa, can I pick this one? In her hand, she held a cute white rabbit. Dojun nodded. I told you to buy what you like. He also grabbed a big teddy bear, making the girl's smile widen. Afterward, they ate a hearty meal together. While they were eating, a woman appeared, shouting Seo Dojun and approaching their table. She criticized Dojun's appearance. Dressed like that, you look like a total mess. Who's this little girl? Did your mother cause trouble again? Are you planning to copy your mother and cause trouble too? Eunyoung looked at the woman confused, wondering, who is she? Dojun observed quietly, his eyes thoughtful. The stylishly dressed girl, she asked the little girl's name. Hey kid, what's your name? The girl replied softly, Eunyoung. But instead of responding with kindness, the woman sneered mockingly, Eunyoung, huh? So you're from the Yoon family. I can tell just by looking at the clothes you're wearing. Pathetic, just like your mother. The little girl bowed her head, silent. The woman continued, Cat got your tongue? Hey, you little brat. Do you know what the word whore means? You're as ugly as an orc. Dojun witnessed it all and couldn't contain his anger. His eyes darkened and he clenched his fists. Memories of his own childhood flashed in his mind. Seo Dojun was born without a father, living in poverty. It wasn't until he was 7, after his mother died, that he was taken in by his biological father's family. But what he received wasn't love, but a decade of contempt and neglect. When his father's legal wife gave birth to a son, he was kicked out of the house like a piece of trash. He ended up living with his grandmother and a sibling he had never met. He looked back at himself, a child who had been rejected, hurt, and despised. Seo Dojun, how could you endure all of that, and still stand up until now? He wondered to himself. But now his eyes shone with determination. Things will be different now. Dojun stood up. He looked straight at her and said coldly, We lived together for 12 years, and yet you still make me feel disgusted. From your face to your twisted personality. And that stupid head of yours, too. You can't get any better. You're just jealous of girls who are better and prettier than you. Your pathetic ego can't even compare to a little girl who knows how to care for her brother. She turned red with anger and asked, What did you say? Just then an elegant woman appeared. The woman walked up to Dojun. Long time no see. The girl recognized her and called out, Mom. The brat started complaining. Mom, do you know what that bastard just said to me? Seriously, that son of a bitch told me. While she was speaking, her mother cut her off. That's enough. Don't interfere. Why are you behaving so rudely? Then she turned to the protagonist. Dojun's son, how have you been? Even if you're busy, it would be nice if you came home to visit your mother once in a while. Seeing this, Dojun thought, what a hypocrite. You're the one who has hurt this body for the past 12 years. She added, Your father is worried about you too. Hearing this, he continued, How disgusting. Are we close enough to be asking after each other? Get lost. The woman left walking hastily, thinking, Is this really Seo Dojun? The child who used to just bow his head and endure it, even when he was slapped for no reason. The brat called after her, Mom, wait for me. Meanwhile, Dojun turned to his sister and said gently, Let's go, Eunyoung. The girl nodded, Okay. He affirmed to himself, The Seo Dojun who used to suffer in silence is now gone. You'd all better watch yourselves. Cut to a while later. Inside the car carrying the mother and daughter from before, an explosion of anger erupted. The brat screamed, Mom, why did we just leave like that? We should have crushed that Dojun right then and there. The woman ignored her daughter's words and asked angrily, Mr. Lee, why is he still alive? The bald-headed man replied, According to the report, Kang Chilyu left him in the Forbidden Zone. The woman raised her voice, That's right. He should have been dead. The bald man broke into a sweat and replied, Yes, I'm sorry, I'll investigate again immediately. Hearing this, the daughter sitting next to him pressed, Mom, what did you just say? What do you mean, did you try to kill Dojun? Her mother added, So you still have feelings for Dojun? She replied, No, it's not like that. Then she screamed, If Grandpa or Dad finds out about this. Her mother cut her off coldly. Your mother will handle this. Don't interfere. The daughter's eyes filled with fear when she saw her mother's terrifyingly cold face. Don't get involved. In the woman's mind, only one thought remained. You dare to oppose me, you lowlife. 15 years ago, the world began to collapse as cracks appeared everywhere. From those dark gates, monsters poured out, killing and slaughtering, spreading terror across the globe. Humanity fell into chaos. But then heroes appeared, bringing with them power and magic, and the world gradually stabilized. From the bodies of monsters, magic stones were extracted and became a replacement energy source for the old ones. The whole world adjusted to this great change. Everything revolved around gates and heroes. Anyone who wanted to make money had to become a hero. Then Seo Dojun sat in a car, his eyes full of determination. He arrived in front of a building and entered the place with a sign that read, Yongdongpo Hunter's Office. He stepped inside. A man who was smoking looked up at him. Who the hell are you? Behind him were 2 of his lackeys, the ones who came to collect the debt from him earlier. You dare to show your face here after beating up my men. But Dojun remained calm and sat down. His eyes were cold. The more I think about it, the more I feel like I'm at a loss. The other guy was annoyed. At a loss. What the hell are you talking about? The protagonist continued, I think you should compensate me mentally, physically and materially for the damages you've caused. Hearing this, the man couldn't help but feel suspicious. This kid has really changed. Looking at how he handled my men, he must have awakened in the gate. He continued to provoke him. You seem to be relying on something. Want me to tell you the fate of those who get arrogant after awakening? Immediately after a flood of his underlings poured into the room, the whole gang stood blocking Dojun's way with hostile eyes. The leader continued, even if you've awakened, you're still trash. I've got a whole crew that'll make sure you can't even open your mouth. But Dojun just stood there and replied coldly, sit down, I'm not done talking. An angry subordinate rushed forward. What this little punk dares? He threw a punch, but Dojun countered in the blink of an eye. A single decisive blow sent him flying, knocking him out on the spot. No one in the workshop could believe Dojun would actually make a move, and so quickly. Dojun struck decisively, landing a powerful punch on a bald guy's face. He collapsed instantly. You guys aren't just loan sharks, are you? I know about the forged documents too. He neatly dodged and countered, taking down several more men. To start making money, I need a hunter ID. Every one of Dojun's strikes carried terrifying sharpness and speed, wiping out the entire gang of thugs in just a few seconds. He stood in the middle of the room, surrounded by sprawled-out bodies, and gave his order, I want a perfect ID. No loose ends later, have it ready by tomorrow. The leader stood frozen, sweat dripping down his forehead. He thought to himself, that's strength. He's not just a D rank. He might even be a B rank. Meanwhile, Dojun coldly closed in. Well, are you going to answer? The man replied grimly, yes, sir, I'll do it. The protagonist placed a hand on his shoulder and continued. Oh, right, one more thing. Hong Hee-ju. She told you to kill me, didn't she? The man flinched, picturing the woman's silhouette. The protagonist squeezed his collarbone hard and asked, still not answering. In pain and panic, he confessed, Hong Hee-ju. She was the one who ordered it. She said she wanted you to be drowning and dead and commit suicide. That's what she told me, I swear, please spare me. Right. Dojun pressed on suicide, huh? So that's why you guys trapped me in the gate. The goon trembled. No. I don't know anything about being trapped in a gate. Seriously, I'm not stupid enough to do something like that. If you died, I'd lose my money too. Dojun thought for a moment, then asked, Kangchilio. That's the name of the guy who dragged me into the gate. I want all the information you have on him, by tomorrow. The guy nodded frantically. Yes, I understand. After he left, Dojun thought to himself, the way they trampled all over me, I'll pay them back step by step. Dojun walked away coldly under the bright sun. The wind blew through his hair, carrying the aura of someone who had awakened and was no longer prey. The scene changes to the next day. Holding the newly acquired B-rank hunter card, Dojun approached the Bensel Gate checkpoint. He swiped the card through the machine. The system confirmed hunter registration card verified. But a warning immediately sounded. Warning, current level is lower than the recommended level. Please consider carefully before entering the gate. Dojun smirked. These guys who mazed the card are real cheapskates. They should have just bumped it up to A rank. The gate opened as Dojun stepped inside. This was a B rank gate, but it was a narrow tunnel type, making it extremely difficult to fight in alone. Normally only A rank or higher would dare to enter this type of gate. But for Dojun, it only sparked his excitement. The harder it is, the more it's worth trying. A challenging smile appeared on his lips. In the narrow hallway, a monster appeared. A black-fanged snake. Even a light bite from it was enough to paralyze the entire body. But Dojun wasn't afraid. He observed it carefully, analyzing it on the move. Then he brushed past the snake, inflicting numerous cuts. After attacking, he looked at his gloves and thought, well, they're earning their 300,000 won. At the same time, a sound came from behind him. He turned and attacked the snake just as it lunged. A moment later, the floor was littered with monster corpses. He plunged his hand in to get the mana stone, but there was nothing. He wondered, this one doesn't have one. This one doesn't either. If it's like my old world, the drop rate for magic stones from black-fanged snakes is less than 3%. Looks like I'll have to hunt a few hundred of them. Stepping out of the tunnel, the area outside was filled with human remains, just skeletons left. Looking at the monster before him, the protagonist wondered, is this the boss snake? Facing him was a giant python. I don't know the layout here yet, so this is pretty convenient. I'd better take care of this quickly and head back. As soon as he threw a punch, he was knocked back. Just as I predicted, this one is far beyond the others. His punches were no longer effective. Its skin was too thick for his bare hands to penetrate. Just as the boss lunged to bite, he dodged backward. He then kicked off and rushed forward, landing another blow. Despite the disadvantage, he remained calm. If it were the old me, this thing would be nothing. But my strength hasn't fully recovered yet. At that moment, he looked down and saw a sword. This is... After a moment's thought, he decided to pick it up and use it. It's old, but it looks like I have no other choice. No matter how worn a sword is, how it unleashes its power. Still depends on the person wielding it. I'll borrow this sword for a bit. Consider it an honor to be destroyed by my own hands. You damn snake. He leaped high into the air to strike down. At the same time, the sword let out a cracking sound. But with his current strength, he took it down with a single slash. But the sword was also shattered. Looking at the sword, he thought, if I hadn't caught that, it would have been a disaster. Then from the monster's corpse, he pulled out a valuable item. It was shorter than a longsword, but with a little sharpening it would be usable. Anyway, I think I've gotten stronger. That's a relief. By the time he left the gate, it was late at night. The protagonist thought to himself, I can't believe it took so long. Recovering my strength is the top priority. It's a good thing my old comrades can't see me in this state. The scene changes to the next day. Inside the Manastone purchasing shop, a muscular man placed on the counter some brilliant red magic stones, sparkling brightly. The cashier looked at them and smiled. You've gathered quite a few. The commission is still 40% same as always. The man frowned and complained, that commission is too high. I'm a regular customer. Can't you lower it a bit? The cashier was firm. This is the cheapest rate. The gate center takes a 5% base commission, and we don't record the transaction, so you don't have to pay taxes. With this fee, you get a clean transaction. It's a good deal for you. The man pondered for a moment, then nodded. That's true. Then he asked, by the way, what happened to your face? The other guy with his swollen, bruised face sighed. Don't ask. Some crazy guy came in here, beat the guards to a pulp, and then wrecked me for fun. The other man burst out laughing. It's probably because you guys looked down on him for his low rank. Rank is just for show. Real strength is what matters. The heroes you hire to protect the store are just licensed, and guarding a shop is nothing compared to someone who risks their life hunting monsters. The cashier thought to himself, what an idiot. If you're done, then leave. Why are you lingering? Your constant yapping is giving me a headache. The man turned and walked out the door, calling back, we're not strangers. Call me if you need help. Just then, a black-haired man with sharp, cold eyes walked up to the cashier. The atmosphere instantly grew tense. The cashier suddenly recognized Dujun, his face twisting in a grimace. He shouted, it's him! He's the one who beat me into this mess. He assaulted me and caused a ruckus here. The other guy looked at the protagonist and added, this guy. He looks pretty handsome, but he caused a scene. Hey you, are you the troublemaker? Why would you attack a civilian? Seeing he had backup, the cashier smirked, thinking, that's a 7-year veteran hero. How dare you mess with him? He knows a lot of high-ranking heroes. You'd better not get involved. Dujun remained calm and still. He turned his eyes as cold as ice. Are you planning to get revenge for them? The muscular man stood silently, feeling the invisible killing intent radiating from Dujun. A warning bell rang in his head. A veteran hero's instinct kicked in. He swallowed, hard understanding that the person before him was no simpleton. One small mistake could cost him his life. Immediately after, the guy forced a laugh, making an excuse to leave. Oh, well, I'm busy. See you later. He walked out the door, leaving behind a cold and imposing Dujun. The protagonist continued, you bastard, you're nothing but trouble. But then he tossed the bag of mana stones at him, and added, calculate the total. The cashier's face paled as he inspected the pile of glowing red mana stones. No way, they're all high-grade mana stones. Who the hell is this guy? He typed on the calculator, then announced, the total is 150,000 sir. Dujun thought to himself, a full day of being a hunter, and it's only 150,000 Then he ordered, so give me 150,000. The employee quickly replied, but there's still the commission to deduct. But Dujun's sharp gaze terrified him. Then the protagonist added, oh right, the commission is 1%. So that's 148,500,000. The employee screamed internally, you bastard! The commission is 40%, why don't you get it? But it turned out that was just a fantasy in his head. Then he added aloud, transactions over 100,000 must be approved by a superior. Dujun's face darkened. Then call him right now. A moment later, he was talking on the phone. Yes, boss, here's the situation. Then the protagonist snatched the phone from him and spoke to the boss. You heard him. Tell your guy to give me the money. Yes, I understand. Please give the phone back to my employee. Let me talk to him again. As soon as he finished, the protagonist slammed the phone down hard next to the guy's face. He added, your boss says he understands. Bring out the money. He stared at the shattered phone and replied, yes, sir. A moment later, bags overflowing with cash were brought out. Total 148.5 million. He left saying, pleasure doing business. See you next time. The employee returned to the counter thinking, since when is doing business only a pleasure for one side? Scene changed to about 10 minutes later. A muscular man walked into the office, growling, hey, why didn't you answer your phone? What was that call earlier about, huh? He told the man, sir, I quit. I can't take it anymore. Seeing this, the manager of the center made an urgent phone call. Juzian, it's your uncle. Get over here now. A moment later, amidst the bustling streets, a striking figure appeared. Her purple hair flowed in the wind. With every stride, she made passers-by turn their heads in awe. It's her Hyun Juzian. Hyun Juzian, South Korea's S-rank female hero, and also the niece of the center's boss. She entered the shop with a cool demeanor, walking past the crowd and straight to the main door. The moment the employee saw her, he screamed, "Ah, ah, ah! It's really Hyun Juzian." She smiled faintly, pushing up her glasses to confirm. "Yes, I'm Hyun Juzian." The employee was stunned. South Korea's S-rank female hero. Why is she here over something like this? Just because someone strong-armed the Mana Stone purchasing center, Juzian replied casually. My uncle said he's having a headache, because some hero was pressuring him while selling Mana Stones. I want to hear the details. Scene changed to the protagonist. A peaceful morning. At the small house where Doo-jun lives, Doo-jun was training his muscles, rippling. Even though he made a large sum of money yesterday from selling Mana Stones, he still felt unsatisfied. A whole day of hunting monsters and I only made a little over 100 million. If I keep going at this rate, it'll be too late. He knew that to change his situation, he needed to be strong enough to conquer an S-rank gate alone, as soon as possible. Diligently absorbing mana every day, it would probably take 3 years or even more to reach my peak again. He sighed, remembering the powerful equipment he used to have, things that didn't even exist here. Not even a mediocre weapon. As Doo-jun was concentrating, suddenly, he sensed something gradually appearing. Eun-jong was playing. When Doo-jun ran over and picked up the little girl, "Eun-jong, get inside, quick." He rushed over to where his grandmother was standing, his eyes wary. She asked, "What's wrong, Doo-jun?" At the same time, the ground began to shake. The grandmother was surprised. "An earthquake, that's them coming up." Eun-jong screamed in panic, but Doo-jun immediately realized something was wrong. "It's not an earthquake. This is outside." A stream of red and black energy tore through the sky. Cracks spread out. A rift unexpectedly opened right in the residential area. Doo-jun recognized it immediately. A rift had appeared in the middle of a residential area. Without hesitation, he immediately rushed outside to check the situation, leaving his panicked grandmother and Eun-jong behind. "It's dangerous, Grandma. You and Eun-jong stay in the room." His grandmother shouted, "Doo-jun, don't go." Then he ran into the rift. At the same time, at the headquarters of the Seoul Hero Association, an announcement was being made. A new rift has been detected in Mappo. All teams move to an emergency state immediately. A black-haired man spoke worriedly. "It's been 83 days since a new gate appeared. That area is near the White Lion Guild, right? Get them there now. Send nearby heroes for emergency backup." The location of its appearance is precisely in the yard of a civilian's house. The situation was becoming serious. A rift of undetermined level had suddenly opened in the middle of a densely populated residential area. A regular person, non-hero entering a rift is strictly forbidden. Then he thought to himself, furthermore, if that person dies, the gate won't close. After 10 days, monsters will flood out into the outside world, causing a catastrophe on a regional scale. Then he asked, "Have you confirmed the identity of the intruder? Is it a civilian?" A blonde-haired man replied anxiously, "The person is Seo Doo-jun, a resident of the house where the rift appeared. He entered the gate to protect his little sister." The black-haired man heard this and said, "Not a hero. In the case of a civilian entering a rift, what is the probability of a monster outbreak?" A number appeared on a screen, 99.9%. The room fell silent. But at the same time, elsewhere a pile of documents was slammed onto a desk. The protagonist's stepmother, Lee Minji, was furious. "Doo-jun has awakened. What did that guy say?" The bald man replied nervously. "He hasn't registered with the association, but he definitely awakened in the gate last time. The matter of Kang Chilio taking money to deal with him seems to have failed." Lee Minji slammed the table and roared with anger. "I should have killed that kid from the start, taking money only to mess everything up. Send a message to Kang Chilio. If he can't kill that Doo-jun, he has to pay back 10 times the amount he received." But the bald-headed man tried to stop her, informing her that this time the rift opened right at Doo-jun's house, and the fact that he went inside will soon be announced by the media. And she suddenly realized, if Doo-jun dies in there, then I won't have to get my hands dirty, so I won't have to see that country bumpkin's face anymore. Right, keep an eye on things until you're sure. The bald man replied, "I understand." Meanwhile, inside the rift, Doo-jun had set foot in another world. This place looked like an ancient forest he once knew. Patasua Forest, a place he used to frequent before. The scenery was perfectly reconstructed. The trees, the wind, the color of the clouds, everything was exactly like his old world. But what truly stunned Doo-jun was something far more sacred. The World Tree. A giant ancient spirit tree. radiating a pure stream of magical power, the very source of life in his old world. Du-jun was moved, unable to believe it. The world tree is still here. He remembered his previous world had been destroyed, when the world tree was burned down, destroying the flow of magical power. I don't know why it's still here, but if so, Du-jun approached, his eyes shining with determination. I can regain my former magical power. He sat down before the tree's base and began to absorb the streams of pure energy radiating from its trunk. For the first time in 3 years, the spiritual power of a sword god was being restored. Amidst the enveloping magical mist, Du-jun remained meditating motionlessly before the world tree. His breathing was steady and deep. 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. He forgot to eat, forgot to sleep, immersed in regulating his aura for 10 consecutive days. But during that time, his body was seemingly regenerated. The stream of mana, the primal energy from the world tree, flowed into every cell. Du-jun was little by little regaining the true strength of the former sword god. But in the dead of the quiet night, a startling sound shattered the silent space. Kirk, kirk, kirk! Du-jun's eyes flew open. From the dense forest, a pack of shadowy creatures emerged. Their shapes were twisted, their bodies stained with a ghostly purple hue. Vunkana. Du-jun recognized them immediately. They were the ones who had burned down the world tree in his old world, the culprits who destroyed the source of mana. They appeared, howling around the base of the tree, as if wanting to continue and complete their past crime. Du-jun stood up, staring intently at them. The ones who once burned down the world tree. He exhaled slowly. If only I had a water element sword right now, it would be great. The Vunkana monsters screamed and charged towards him. He stood his ground, his eyes blazing. It doesn't matter. I will destroy all of you. He raised his hand. A stream of blue mana flowed around it, exploding like a tidal wave. Mana release. A massive wave of energy burst forth. The attack put the monsters on high alert. Condensed mana was released in a gaseous form, creating a powerful explosion that made the monsters scream in pain. It's been a long time since I've released this much mana. The protagonist was sweating bullets after that last attack. Just then the monsters counterattacked, but Du-jun dodged effortlessly. He stepped forward and said with a smile, launching a counter-strike with a powerful mana wave. Confirmed that the world tree is still safe. Now it's my body's mana's turn. His eyes gleamed. Let's see for myself. Before the monsters could react, Du-jun rushed forward and grabbed their snouts. He released his mana, crushing them one by one. The monsters were annihilated. Their bodies turned to dust, leaving behind sparkling mana stones. He walked over with the smuggest smile imaginable. When I annihilate all of you, I'll definitely be able to get the Undying Ember. Right, I remember that item has a pretty high drop rate. Let's see how many drop from you all. He immediately charged into the remaining monsters. Each strike was precise and powerful. His figure moved like lightning. The monsters' bodies were sent flying, leaving mana stones scattering everywhere. Among them, a bright golden spark fell, amidst the brilliant red mana stones. He walked over, bent down, and picked up the Undying Ember. Huh! He looked at the familiar item in his hand, his gaze profound. I never thought I'd be able to get this again. A golden light enveloped his hand, as brilliant and hot as a living flame. He clenched his fist and the flame flared up. Even though I really want to absorb more mana from the world tree, it's impossible with my current body. What I can do right now is absorb this ember and convert my mana to the fire element. Fire enveloped his body, spreading through every muscle fiber. Back then I didn't need to absorb this flame. But now it takes me 10 minutes just to absorb one. He looked around. At his feet were dozens of red and gold mana stones. Well, I'll just absorb as many as I can. Outside, the rift crowds of civilians, reporters and government organizations were in chaos. Media personnel were filming, shouting out situation reports. An angry man gritted his teeth, growling, "Damn it! Because of one crazy guy, this whole situation has gone to hell." This brown-haired man is Bang Seong-gu, and this blue-haired young man is Kim Hyun-gu. He said he did it to save his sister. Bang Seong-gu added, that's just his excuse. He heard a rumor that it's easy to awaken in a rift zone, so he recklessly charged in. If you're planning to die, don't drag others down with you. Then Kim Hyun-gu continued, we should ask the guildmaster what to do next. He replied, the guildmaster just said to stand by and wait. Kim Hyun-gu was confused. But why? Haven't cases like this always been controllable before? He lowered his voice. This time it happened simultaneously in the US, China, Turkey, and Switzerland. Maybe that's why this guildmaster is also in disarray. All because of one bastard. He was the first one to crawl in there. Just wait until he comes out. I'm going to smash his face in. Meanwhile, on TV, an announcement was being made. The screen showed a blurred photo of Seo Du-jun. The news anchor's voice rang out. 28 days have passed since the rift opened. If Mr. S, the first civilian to enter, does not return within the next 2 days, a region-wide monster outbreak will occur. The loan shark boss turned off the TV and wondered, Mr. S. Huh. Isn't that the damn Seo Dujun? The subordinate next to him replied, Yes, sir. I had someone confirm it's definitely Seo Dujun. This man is Kim Ji-won, known as the right-hand man, the brains of an underground power. The boss asked, What do you think are the chances that he's still alive? But unaware of the truth, he added, If he's just a civilian, there's no chance. Less than 1%. Not even 0.1%. The man burst out laughing. A civilian, that's hilarious. Information from the association isn't reliable. We don't even know if that guy has awakened or not. The guys who were beaten to a pulp by the protagonist nodded frantically. Assuming he is an awakened one, then what? Kim Ji-won replied. Then it depends on his hero rank. But honestly, I can't be sure. Being good at fighting doesn't mean you can survive in a rift. The loan shark boss replied, True. That Seo Dujun has 2 relatives, right? We have to protect them. Then Kim Ji-won asked, What are you planning to do? He gave a wicked smile and said, For now, just treat them well. If he dies, we'll sell his family's organs. And if he survives, we'll say we took great care of them and make him repay the favor. Meanwhile, with the protagonist under the world tree, Seo Dujun was ablaze in flames of mana. He absorbed the undying ember. How much time has passed? I've absorbed hundreds of undying embers. When I want to, I can use fire attribute mana. My fire resistance has also increased significantly. Just in terms of fire control alone, I've surpassed even when I held the title of Sword God. He turned to look at the glowing base of the tree. His hand touched the rough bark. In the past and now, thank you, World Tree. He gathered the red mana stones and silently promised, I probably won't see you again, but if we do meet again and you're in danger, I will protect you at all costs. Then the protagonist teleported from the forest region, returning to the city in the dark of night. He checked his surroundings using mana sense. No one within a 1-kilometer radius, only a faint aura in the distance. He immediately dashed in that direction. He hid behind a wall and saw 2 guys in suits standing guard. They're definitely waiting for me to come out of the gate. Without hesitation, the protagonist summoned a flame and threw a powerful fireball, towards the building with the Special Police Task Force sign. The men heard the loud explosion. What's that blue-haired guy saying? What, it's on fire? They panicked and ran towards the area, while Dojin watched coldly from a distance. Bang Shonggu saw the fire and immediately cursed. What the hell is this? Why is there a fire here? On the side, the main character stood watching and thought. The nature of the flame and the accuracy of the aim are both excellent. Isn't this a flame that even he would have to admire? He will definitely be very pleased, because you are the strongest fire mage in the 6 realms. Suddenly, where the blue-haired guy was, he seemed to sense something and said, What, the rift is disappearing. They ran over, but it was too late. Bang Shonggu's face was bewildered. What, the crack is disappearing? Meanwhile, Dojin was calmly walking down the stairs in front of the house. His eyes glinted coldly. Cut to the next morning. All the news reports were covering the incident at the rift. On the big screen in the city center, the announcer reported, It has been 29 days since the rift opened. If the first person who entered doesn't return in 2 days, we will face a monster outbreak disaster. The Hero Association, which had been predicting a monster wave would erupt, today was taken by surprise by the rift's sudden disappearance, and is currently conducting a thorough investigation into the cause. Meanwhile, a mysterious fire also broke out at a junkyard nearby. Down on the street, a crowd was gossiping about the main character. That S-ranker probably died in there, right? Serves him right. Still, it's a shame someone died. But if the rift hadn't disappeared, Seoul would have become a battlefield. Amidst the bustling crowd, Dojin wearing a hoodie walked slowly. He thought to himself, if it disappears forever, we'll probably never see the world tree again. What a shame, but this is better. And now there's still one thing that needs protecting. Without hesitation, he walked in. Inside, a group of underlings were gathered, smoking. One of them laughed and said to his pals, If that kid makes it back alive, I'll cut off my head for you to sit on. They had no idea that Dojin had been standing behind them the whole time. His ice-cold voice rang out, Where's your boss? At the same time, the boss had just returned, getting out of his car, still smiling cheerfully. Now that the bad thing is gone, I can finally sleep peacefully. Mr. Kim, what do we need to do today? He held a notebook and said, You have a lunch meeting with CEO Beck. There's nothing on the schedule for tonight. Good. Contact Madam Kang and tell her I'm coming tonight. If there are any new girls, tell them to dress up nicely. He replied, Yes, sir. Just as he stepped inside, he was shocked to see his underlings sent flying, slamming into the wall. A moment later, the same scene unfolded. He was kicked to the ground by the main character. Then, filled with killing intent, he asked, Crawl over here like a dog, now. The man broke out in a cold sweat, seeing that the main character had become stronger and more brutal. He sat on a chair and added, Did you hear me? Bark. A piece of trash like you doesn't deserve to be treated like a human. Hurry up and act like a dog. The other guy, terrified, started barking like a dog. Woof, 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 woof. His voice grew even colder. Louder, I can't hear you. You fake-faced bastards, groveling as if you're ready to rip out your own guts for me. But the moment you see a chance, you stab me in the back. Huang Changsub. You think this is the first time I've dealt with trash like you? The man knelt before the main character. Please spare me. I'll be as loyal as a dog for the rest of my life. Just then he delivered a kick and cursed, "Shut up." Seeing the man fall backward, he turned and called out, "Hey, Four Eyes, you're the boss now. Don't waste your life working like a dog at the feet of scum, like this. It's not that hard to clean up the trash above you, is it? I give you permission. Go ahead." Four Eyes replied, "Our boss has a lot of connections, so if I suddenly become the boss, people will get suspicious. So please don't do that. Just give the boss one more chance." Hearing this, the main character snapped, "Are you that stupid? Isn't stuffing someone in a drum and throwing them into the sea or crushing them in a junkyard your specialty? If that doesn't work, just feed him to the monsters." Hearing this, the boss knelt again, begging, "Please, as long as I live, I'll work like a dog for you, sir. I'm begging you, sir. I'm begging you." He thought to himself, should I deal with Huang Changsob right now to avoid trouble later? Am I going soft? Then he extended his hand. Here. The man took the main character's hand and said, "I'm truly sorry for everything before. No, from now on I'll serve you as my big brother." Just then the main character burned his hand as a warning. He added, "This is your last chance." He left and said, "From now on, if my family gets even a single scratch, I'll kill every last one of you. Have your underlings watch over them 24/7 for the rest of their lives." After leaving the loan sharks, Dojun took Union to a fast food restaurant. But officially, Dojun was considered to have disappeared along with the rift. The government, the Hero Association, and all media outlets had declared Dojun dead. Even if I say I came back alive, it will only make things more complicated. Huang Changsub will probably find a new place soon, so we can take our time moving. The little girl, still holding a hamburger, smiled. Hee, I'm happy we get to move now." The main character continued, "You'll also get to go to kindergarten like the other kids. And next year you'll start first grade." Hearing this, the little girl's face fell. He asked, "What's wrong? Don't you want to go to kindergarten?" Then the little girl said, "No, but the other kids make fun of me for not having parents." He paused for a beat, feeling sorry for the little girl. "It's okay, you don't have to go. There's no reason to deal with kids like that. Just go straight to first grade next year." Hearing this, the little girl smiled and said, "Really, I don't have to go to kindergarten." "That's right," he replied. Then thought to himself, "Let's just skip it. Should I send her to a really good private school so no one dares to look down on her?" Cut to the previous evening. The main character said irritably, "You made my grandmother and the kids stay in a motel. Do you have a brain?" The man cowered and replied, "This motel is under our management, so in terms of safety, it's completely secure." The main character replied, "Fine, whatever." He recalled the moment he had just returned alive. The little girl rushed to hug him. "Oppa?" Then the old woman took his hand and said, "Dojun, you've really come back." The little girl just kept calling his name and crying, "Dojun, Oppa! Oppa!" Seeing this, he broke into a smile. "Yeah, I'm back. I'm still alive." Cut to the present. The little girl asked him, "Appa, are you a hero too?" The main character smiled and said, "Why would you like it if I were a hero?" The little girl replied, "No, I hope you're not a hero." He asked why, and the little girl continued, "People say heroes have to fight scary monsters, and sometimes they die. Our family, Grandma and I, we want you to be with us for a long, long time. Oppa, I hope you'll stay with us for a really, really long time." Hearing that, he was stunned. He remained silent. Even in that cruel and ruined world, one person had survived until the very end. So many things were lost after years of fighting monsters. And somewhere along the way, I found again the precious thing I had once forgotten. If it's here, I think I can protect a little bit of happiness and live peacefully. Cut to the Korean Hero Association. Inside a room, Na Tae-ho, founder of the Korean Hero Association and director of the World Hero Federation, spoke. "So you've really found no leads?" The short-haired woman replied, "No, sir. We still have nothing. I'm sorry." He looked outside and added, "This is so frustrating. If a rift can disappear on its own, then it can also reappear on its own." She continued anxiously, "That's right. This kind of instability is very dangerous. I'd almost rather it had triggered a wave." He interrupted, not thinking about the safety of the people. "Isn't this result actually a blessing?" She replied, "Sorry, I was being thoughtless. Na Tae-ho is one of the top 100 most respected heroes in the world. If he ran for president, he would surely win with the highest vote count in history. And it's said that even the largest corporations would collapse if he set his mind to it. But he doesn't care about becoming president or confronting the chaebols. All he cares about is protecting the people and preparing for the rifts." He added, no matter how long it takes, investigate it thoroughly again. She replied, understood, and the homeowner near the rift area has agreed to sell the house. He replied cheerfully, is that so good? Make sure they receive a price higher than the market value. Don't let them feel shortchanged. If it can bring them some comfort after losing their family, it's well worth it. She continued, this rift was reported to have occurred simultaneously in other countries as well. Something's not right. Haven't the US and China already gotten theirs under control? He explained, the problem is in the UK. Their key heroes have been dispatched to other rifts, but this is impossible. What's going on? World Hero Federation issues an emergency alert. Rift wave detected in the United Kingdom. Warning. Warning, rift in the UK. Emergency alert from the World Hero Federation. Rift wave detected in the United Kingdom. At the UK Hero Item Trading Center, Dojin once again walked in quietly. The cashier saw him and looked like he'd seen a ghost. Then he yelled, Manager, it's him! He folded his newspaper and said, so this is the one. The guy who forced a sale of magic stones while I was away. Dojin took off his backpack and replied, perfect timing. I have a lot of magic stones to sell today. I was hoping a high-level person would handle it. Looking at the main character's backpack, he thought, then he saw it. Looks like he's brought another pile of low-grade, unprocessed magic stones like last time. Then he said, I won't do business with you, please leave. No business. Seeing the main character's bewildered look, he continued, perhaps you don't understand, but with a commission of only 1%, I've already taken a huge loss. I will never do business with you again. Take it and go. The main character chuckled and said, you'll regret this, you know. The man held his forehead and said, ugh, there's no reasoning with you. The Portal Center charges a 5% commission for a reason. The Magic Stone distribution system is, whatever, no need to explain. Take your bag and leave now. Don't come back. Just then, the main character poured out a pile of high-grade mana crystals. Wait a minute. Are those hero-grade magic stones? The kind they say can be sold at any price. Why are they here? The main character crossed his arms and said, if you don't want them, then fine. 4 hero-grade magic stones. The Caressaman, a notorious drug lord in Mexico, dismantled a magic stone to synthesize drugs. When the stone's power suddenly erupted and awakened him, he became a hero. Since then, these stones have become essential items for awakening heroes and enhancing mana. These stones are called hero-grade magic stones. They are not only a rare energy source, but also an extremely valuable commodity. Putting them back in the bag, I'm leaving. Seeing the main character about to leave, the man rushed over and said, valued customer, could you please wait a moment? After that, the guy at the counter went back to polishing a mana crystal. How ridiculous. As the main character was drinking water, the manager said, excuse me, sir, but a 0.5% commission. Don't you think that's a bit harsh? He replied coolly, then don't make the deal. No, I didn't mean that. I was just curious. Why change it to 0.5%? The main character replied, because you were annoying. Hearing this, the man bowed his head and said, I'm truly sorry, I was thoughtless. I'm tired of your apologies. Just say it, will you accept that rate or not? On the side, the cashier witnessed everything and thought, damn, this guy is really a handful. I'll never forget this scene. All right, fine. Hero-grade magic stones are an extremely rare item, so most companies would buy them at market price, without taking a commission. But you won't always be bringing in hero-grade stones, right? Eventually, wherever you go, you'll end up paying a commission of over 10%. But this time, I'll agree to have you sell everything to us at a fixed commission of 10% from now on, sir. Hearing this, the main character replied, too long-winded. If you don't like it, I'll go somewhere else. The man chased after him and said, 9%. We're really taking a loss on this. He replied, then don't take the loss. Afraid he would leave, the man said, 8%. If my boss finds out, he'll kill me. The main character added, then don't give him a reason. The man continued, 7%. We really can't go any lower. He replied indifferently, no one is forcing you to go lower. We have absolutely no profit margin left. 6.6%. Hearing this, he continued, what kind of merchant does business without making a profit? Looking at the man kneeling on the floor, the main character added, for old time's sake, I'll accept 1%. The man yelled, you're a goddamn robber. But it turned out that was just in his imagination. Just so you know, I have about 7 more bags like this. Hearing this, the manager ordered the cashier, hey, what are you standing there for? Bring the contract out here now. He replied, yes, sir. Looking at his phone, having received 67 billion won, the main character thought, at this rate, that 1 in 10 billion won mansion isn't far off. The problem is I can't get high-grade magic stones, just from gates. If only I could freely travel through the rift zones. At that moment, a notification came on his phone. I know, the manager asked. What is it? A wave outbreak. Oh, it's in the UK. I thought it was an announcement from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Currently, a wave has occurred in the southern region of the United Kingdom. Business travelers and tourists should adjust their schedules immediately. The embassy is confirming the safety of Korean citizens. How pathetic. A bunch of incompetents. On his way back, Dojin thought about the monster wave that had just occurred in the UK. Before, regardless of the country or any directives from the association, I would have rushed in to block the rift zones, but I don't live like that anymore. Cut scene. Dojun, his grandmother, and Yoon are eating barbecue in a restaurant. The little girl exclaimed, "Wow, barbecue!" His grandmother looked at the menu and asked, "Dojin 250,001 for 100 grams. Isn't that too expensive?" Not wanting his grandmother to worry, he explained, "I made a lot of money this time. Please eat as much as you like." "Don't worry, Grandma." His sister, after putting a piece of beef in her mouth, couldn't hide her happy and delighted expression. The main character ordered more: 4 servings of fresh beef ribs, 4 servings of chuck flap, 4 servings of sirloin, and 4 servings of neck chain, please. His grandmother, still worried, asked, "Didn't you order too much? How can we eat all this?" The main character smiled brightly and replied, "Let's just eat to our heart's content today." Oh my goodness. Seeing her grandmother's concern, the little girl picked up a piece for her and said, "Grandma, you should eat a lot too. The meat is delicious, Grandma. Try it quickly. My good little Union." Yes. Just as the family was enjoying their happy gathering, the S-rank female hero approached and asked, "Seo Dojin, can I talk to you for a moment? Are you the hero?" Before she could say more, he replied, "Can't you see I'm eating with my family? Whatever it is, wait until I'm finished and then come back." The beautiful woman was struck silent. Then the beautiful woman thought, "I'm Hyun Ju-yeon, you know." Then she added, "Very well." A moment later, she was seen sitting to the side, waiting for the main character's family to finish eating, and thought, "What is with this man?" Around them, other diners were glancing over and wondering, "Isn't that Hyun Ju-yeon in the waiting area? The S-rank hero world star Hyun Ju-yeon. Yes, that's her. She really deserves to be in the top 10 most beautiful heroes in the world. But who is she waiting for here? Who could possibly make Hyun Ju-yeon wait? Seo Dojin. 2 months ago, he entered a gate for the first time and survived. It's suspected he awakened then. And even though he was reported dead after being swept into the Mapo Rift, he's clearly alive and here now. The man, who with just a look and a single sentence, made me feel a sense of danger. But an S-rank who just awakened less than 2 months ago. Even the oil tycoon Capmo took 5 years to reach S-rank after awakening. There's no way that man has become an S-rank. He must have some other special ability. Afterward, his whole family stepped outside with full bellies. The little girl said happily, "That was delicious." Just as the beautiful woman approached, the blonde guy got there first and said, "What the? Am I seeing things? How did you get out of that gate? I knew you were a lowly bastard, but I didn't think you were as slippery as a snake too." The beautiful woman on the side thought, "Of all people, it's Kang Cheonu. What do I do now? Hey, you said you had business with me, right?" At the same time, he looked to the side and saw the beautiful woman. "Huh, Hyun Ju-yeon. What's going on here?" The main character added, "I'll hear you out later. But could you do me a favor with my family? Just call a taxi and get them in the car. As for me, I have a debt to collect." Now the beautiful woman is putting the main character's grandmother and niece into a taxi to go home first, to avoid being affected by this less than gentle fight. "Don't worry, you two go on ahead. Goodbye, little miss." After the car left, meanwhile, inside the battle between the main character and the blonde man, the one who was hired to leave him for dead in the dungeon was underway. He got slapped and resentfully yelled, "You son of a bitch, I'll—" Then a female employee came to intervene. "Sir, you can't do that in here." Before she could finish, he struck the female employee. "Damn it, get the hell out of here, you want to die, you bitch." Just then the main character attacked him. A single blow made him clutch his face and kneel. In the middle of the scene, Seo Dojin faced Kang Cheonu, his voice calm but filled with killing intent. "You locked me in the gate to kill me, right? We're going to have a nice little chat. You bastard, got it." Kang Cheonu laughed contemptuously. "Ha! What do I have to say to a piece of trash thrown away by his own father, like you? Did your stepmother tell you to kill me?" Then the main character took out his phone to record. "Say that again," his words getting filthier. Cheonu screamed, "Your mother was a whore, you hear me? Die here, you son of a bitch." He threw a punch straight at his face, but Dojin simply put out his hand and blocked it with ease. The blow was pushed back. Cheonu's face went pale. "What? My attack was nullified." Dojun said nothing, simply countering silently. 1 blow, 2 blows. Kang Cheonu was knocked back and collapsed before the horrified eyes of the onlookers. In a corner, the female employee was panicking. "The police. What's the number for the police?" Just then, a hand reached out and took the phone. It was Hyun Ju-yeon. She added, "That won't be necessary. I'll take care of the rest." The female employee on the verge of tears replied, "Ah, Miss Hyun Ju-yeon, thank you." Over with the main character, he was beating the hell out of the blonde guy. Seeing this, Hyun Ju-yeon thought, Kang Cheonu is a B-rank hero, so why was he taken down so easily? He must be A rank or higher. Even an A rank couldn't handle a B rank like this. Then she added, Dojun, do you know who he is? Dojun replied coldly, I know enough to beat him up. Hyun-Juyeon continued, his cousin is Kang Yongpyo, an S-rank hero. Dojun said nonchalantly, his gaze unwavering. And what if I do? Is that a problem? Hearing that, Hyun-Juyeon thought, he knows and he's still doing this. But his attitude is like he doesn't care about the consequences. He's really reckless, she added. The reason Kang Cheonu can do whatever he wants and go so far is because he has Kang Yongpyo protecting him. That also means what you're doing right now is very dangerous. After locking eyes with the main character, the beautiful woman began to speak. I'm sorry for showing up so suddenly. My uncle asked me to handle this. You sold magic stones at Gasan Stone Man, right? Yes, sell them to me. Hearing this, the main character asked, how many? She answered, I'll buy them all, Seo Dojin. He smiled and said, that's a really big shipment. The beautiful woman replied, the assets of an S-rank hero are beyond your imagination. The main character continued, I'm not against selling, but I have one condition. It's nothing serious. If it's Hyun-Juyeon, you'll be able to handle it. Cut to the main character's stepmother. She was smashing things, yelling, what the hell are you talking about? He's dead. He was supposed to have died in a new rift. Wasn't he? The bald man replied. I'm sorry. The Hero Association also believed he was dead. She cursed again. No excuses. How are you going to fix this now? He continued. More importantly, I have something to report. Kang Cheonu just got his ass handed to him by Seo Dojun. Kang Cheonu, that idiot. Why? He replied, Seo Dojun probably knows something. She thought to herself, if my husband or father-in-law find out about this, it'll be a real pain. But I can manage it. It's fine. Just don't let the media find out, or the stock price will plummet. I have to block the media right away. Then she pointed and ordered, if even one article is published, not only T Corporation, but VK Group as well will pull all advertising and terminate their partnerships. Silence the police first. Do it now. The bald man replied. We've already silenced the media and the police. Hearing that, she said with relief, good work, Manager Lee. He said quietly, but you know that's not a real solution. The problem is that Kang Cheonu is Kang Yongpyo's cousin. She asked worriedly, Kang Yongpyo, you mean that one? Cheonu is notorious even in the hero world for being a bastard. People think Yongpyo is very fond of him, but in reality, Cheonu is just a tool that does Yongpyo's dirty work. The bald man continued, now that Cheonu is getting hammered by the media and the police, Yongpyo is also in danger. It seems he's making a move. She replied impatiently, we have to meet with him, schedule it as soon as possible. And CEO Hwang Chang-sob of HCS Capital? He betrayed us, right? The bald man replied, yes, he is taking care of Dojin's family. Her eyes darkened and she said, yes, contact Prosecutor Park right now. He will pay the price for choosing them over me. The scene shifts to the main character and the beautiful woman. There are currently 37 active crack zones in Korea. Among them, 5 are turning into spatial gates. The rest can only be handled according to the regular hunting schedule by heroes belonging to the association. After checking the beautiful woman's ID card, the security officer confirmed, Hero Hyun-Juyeon, your card has been authenticated. Good luck on your expedition. The protagonist standing behind thought to himself, there's only one entrance. Even though they know it's Hyun-Juyeon, they still check her ID and lock the gate very strictly. This blue-haired girl is Jung In-ju, an A-rank hero of the Korean Hero Association, and the leader of the Velvet Poppy Guild. She said, is it true, strange but true? Hyun-Juyeon is proposing a hunt in a crack zone. The beautiful woman, having done so because of her promise to the protagonist, replied, oh, I just wanted a change of pace once in a while. Then she glanced at the protagonist, remembering what happened earlier. Just one condition. Let me into the crack zone. I'll sell all the magic stones at market price. The beautiful woman asked, why? He replied, because hunting in a crack zone is much more profitable. He really came to a deadly crack zone just for that. Crazy. Even if it wasn't my uncle's request, I still need hero magic stones, so it's no different for me. After leaving the dark tunnel, Jung In-ju asked the beautiful woman in surprise, seeing her bringing a man along. Be honest, who is he? The beautiful woman replied nonchalantly, just someone I know. Jung In-ju asked again, just an acquaintance? And you think I believe that? Is he your boyfriend? The beautiful woman said helplessly, it's not like that. I just owe him a favor, so I'm bringing him along to repay it. Jung In-ju wondered, a favor? An S-rank hero like Hyun-ju owes someone a favor. She added, yeah, something like that. At that moment, the group was attacked by a bird monster. They all got into a defensive stance, ready to fight. Jung In-ju, seeing it, screamed, it's a cockatrice. Immediately, the beautiful woman ordered, Namjin Jinju and Doyun defensive formation. Sung-ho, protect the legs. While she was speaking, the protagonist had already charged forward to attack, without hesitation. Seeing this, the whole hero group was shocked, unable to keep their composure. The beautiful woman even screamed. Seo Dojun, the protagonist replied nonchalantly. First one. The battle begins. Everyone split into their battle formations to deal with the strange creature that had just appeared. The air was thick with tension. In a flash, Dojin shot off like a lightning bolt. Each of his steps tore through the wind, a blurry figure, charging straight at the giant monster that was roaring in the middle of the sky. The flames on Dojin's fist erupted fiercely. Then, with a punch like a thunderbolt, he launched himself straight at the monster. The blow sent the giant creature crashing to the ground, creating a earth-shattering sound. The ground cracked and dust flew everywhere. Dojin landed softly. Behind him, Hyunjun stood motionless, his eyes never leaving him. Dojin didn't stop. He spun around decisively and slammed the monster's head to the ground, creating a giant swirl of dust. A member of the group whispered in amazement, "What the hell? He finished it in one hit." But even Jun could not hide his astonishment. But Dojin just said in a voice as cold as ice, "Not yet." Immediately after, he slowly raised his leg, preparing to finish it. A moment of hesitation. It has to die this way. The hero group behind them stood stunned. They were all silent. No one could believe their eyes. Young Inju's voice was filled with confusion.
Well, who is he?
Hyunjun was still motionless, his face tense as he tried to understand. Is he just a strong person? Young Inju continued clinging to Joyeon, enunciating each word. Can you call it that? Do you know how many heroes have been killed by a single cockatrice? And he took it down with just one hit. Just one hit. He didn't even use his full strength. Even the true form of the cockatrice didn't even have a chance to appear. How can that be? The beautiful woman continued. If it was just knocking it down, even my little sister could do that. Young Inju was angry. She imitated the protagonist's punching motion. You all saw it, and you're still talking nonsense like that, especially in an aerial battle. The monster couldn't even dodge that punch and was taken down immediately, and with just one hit at that. A question echoed in Joyeon's mind, decisive yet cautious. Who is this person really? Then she explained, Nuna, we have to change the plan. I'm going back to the center for a bit. Then she went to talk to the protagonist. Sorry to bother you. Dojin calmly stuck his knife into the monster's corpse, making a precise cut, and pulled out a glowing red mana stone. He held up the stone and said coldly, I have no intention of sharing with someone who didn't contribute anything. Yun Joyeon stepped up behind him, her expression calm but hiding a sharp observation. And I have no intention of asking for a share either. Your abilities are not like those who are suited for this place. Do you want to go deeper inside? Dojin gave a faint smile, a spark of interest flashing in his eyes, as he spun the sword in his hand. His gaze was sharp. Sounds like fun. Jun walked over and said softly, I know this area well, so I'll lead the way. Just stick close to me so you don't get lost. Without waiting for a reply, she immediately took off, her body as light as the wind darting through the trees. Dojin just glanced after her, a hint of amusement in his eyes, and without hesitation, he shouldered his backpack and launched himself in pursuit. A whistling sound was heard. The ground trembled as Dojin shot past, leaving a shockwave behind, causing the grass to flatten to either side. Young Inju exclaimed in amazement, Whoa! If Juseon is a bullet, then this guy is light. Pure light. But behind them, the people in the team were still standing there, not having reacted at all. One person asked, Guild leader, shouldn't we be following them? Young Inju raised her eyebrows and turned to ask nonchalantly, Can you keep up? The other person shrugged. Of course not, let's go. We're just supporting roles today. Let's just hunt around here like usual. They could only silently agree. They slowly walked through the forest, passing by the corpse of the giant monster that had been killed not long ago. Young Inju thought to herself, everyone praises us as A-rank heroes, but in front of a true S-rank, we're no different from small fry. Miss Jusen and that man too. Her eyes widened in shock, realizing the gap between her and them was even greater than she had imagined. Up ahead, Joyeon glided through the forest like an arrow. She felt a little anxious, looking behind her and not seeing Dojin. She wondered if she should slow down a bit. But just then, a soft voice whispered right next to her ear. Can't you go any faster? Joyeon was startled and turned around. Dojin had caught up to her without her knowing. His face showed no signs of fatigue. He even looked somewhat relaxed. But Joyeon felt a shock run through her entire body. She couldn't understand what was happening. What the hell? How did this happen? I got caught up. In terms of speed, I'm in the top 2 in Korea. But the harsh reality. Right in front of her, Dojin was still walking at a steady pace, showing no signs of exertion. He turned back, glanced at her, and said lightly, You're slower than I thought. You were running as if you were trying to keep me from catching up. Joyeon was startled and immediately retorted, Who said I can't keep up? The protagonist looked off into the distance, pointing to a sheer rock face that appeared in the distance. Hey, what's that place over there? Joyeon stopped surprised and looked up. She muttered to herself, her expression turning serious. That place? That's where the boss monster of the crack zone resides. Dojin frowned. Boss monster? Have you ever heard of a Cassian? A 20-meter-long monster shaped like a wyvern. Dojin asked, his eyes lighting up. Oh, the one that contains a special grade military mana stone, Joyeon immediately growled. Yes, it's almost the highest grade, but don't even think about it. It takes at least 3 S-rank team leaders to take it down. You don't stand a chance alone. Dojun ignored the warning and continued to think. Joyeon started to lose her patience. Hey, are you listening to me? I didn't bring you here to do something reckless like that. But just as she was trying to stop him, Dojun shot off, leaving her behind. Joyeon stared wide-eyed, horrified. Oh my god, what is he trying to do? She immediately chased after him. Hey, that place! Why is he heading straight for it? A moment later, Joyeon stopped, her eyes wide with horror. She frowned and mumbled, "What the hell is this?" In that moment, she realized just now something very unusual had happened. She quickly turned around. A giant creature with glossy black scales and fierce red horns. It was a Cassian. The Cassian monster was truly terrifyingly strong. Park Hee-jung, a renowned S-rank hero, famous throughout the world for specializing in hunting Cassians. Even with that strength, in his first encounter with a Cassian, he brought a team of 30 A-rank heroes. But they were all killed. Cassarian had crushed the entire team like weeds. In the sea of fire and ash of that day's battle, only Park Hee-jun was the sole survivor, his body covered in wounds, having walked out of hell. Unbowed, Park Hee-jun decided to return. This time he assembled a massive force of 15 S-rank heroes and 200 A-rank heroes. A rematch with Cassian was no longer a mission, but a challenge from all of humanity. The mighty army led by Park Hee-jun immediately charged forward. The sound of their pounding footsteps shook the ground. The magic power emanating from hundreds of warriors created a wave of sparkling blue light that covered the entire battlefield. Everyone unleashed their full magical power, creating ferocious attacks aimed at the giant monster. Kacharian roared in anger. Its giant black wings swung powerfully, sweeping away an entire row of soldiers. Its fiery jaws opened wide, spewing a deadly breath, straight at the center of the formation. Under his command, the heroes unleashed their skills in unison. Light fire, lightning, and a barrage of high-level skills rained down on Kacharian. However, the monster stood firm. Its giant body glowed fiercely from the energy core within. Suddenly, a stream of black energy shot out from its mouth, a chaotic frenzy that tore the sky apart. The air felt like it was being swallowed whole. A battlefield quickly turned into a hellscape. Screams, clashes, and the explosion of magic blended together into a symphony of life and death. Finally, after a fierce battle that lasted for hours, they succeeded. Cassian was defeated. Cheers of victory erupted from the survivors. Park Hee-jun and a few other members raised their hands in celebration, but their faces couldn't hide their exhaustion and loss, because most of those who participated had fallen on the battlefield. Over 200 people went into battle, but only a small fraction returned. The price was too high. After that victory, the name Squid Life Mega, Park Hee-jun's guild, became famous. However, even after 3 years had passed, they still haven't recovered completely from the heavy consequences of that battle. In the present, Dojun coldly sliced a line on the corpse of the monster he had just defeated. His eyes showed no emotion. Joan, standing nearby, unconsciously shuddered as Dojun softly said, "You know you were no help in that last fight." "Right." June blushed. She thought to herself, if I hadn't gone with him and seen it with my own eyes, I probably wouldn't have believed this was real. But Joyeon stood silently, still reeling from the shock. She thought of the monster that for so many years had been the hero world's greatest nightmare. That notorious Catherine was defeated by him with just one blow. The protagonist was holding in his hand the bright red mana stone taken from the monster's corpse. "I don't need an escort anymore." He turned and walked away, leaving Joyeon behind, who still hadn't reacted. "From now on, I'll go alone." Joyeon called after him. "Wait, aren't you going to take the rest of the Cassian's parts? After all, besides the crystal, there's the beak, claws, and bones. They're all extremely valuable research materials." But Dojun turned his head. His curt reply carried on the wind. "Not necessary, not worth it." Joyeon stood behind, her face showing a clear mix of surprise and confusion, silent. Dojun continued walking forward, his voice steady. "It would be more efficient to use that time to collect mana stones from other monsters. You can take the rest if you want. Consider it a guide fee." Joyeon didn't reply. She glanced at Cassian's giant body, lying there, with its many valuable parts for research. But then she turned away. "I don't want it." Cut to dusk. A huge, heavy black backpack. Anyone would think it was just ordinary luggage. The long-haired man broke the silence. "That guy borrowed a giant backpack and came back. In just a moment it was full of magic stones. But that much, it would take our guild at least 20 hours to hunt. Based on the quantity, even 3 consecutive days might not be enough." The group fell silent. They realized there was an insurmountable gap. In the distance, Joyeon sat alone. Young Inju watched her secretly and thought, who is he really? His speed and the amount he's collecting, it's unbelievable. If what Jushan said is true, then he took down a Cassian, without any special equipment or armor. That alone is enough to make him the strongest hero in Korea. Her gaze drifted to the distance, where the protagonist's figure stood, towering on top of a high rock, like a lonely warrior, and the distance between her and him. She couldn't help but think, no, perhaps he's the strongest person in the entire world. The protagonist walked quietly over carrying a large bag. Everyone stared at him. Young Inju whispered, "He's dragging a bag that full. Even if I told anyone who would believe it right, they'd probably think we're crazy. It's best not to tell anyone about today." They both laughed awkwardly. "Haha, you're right." The heroes in the distance, seeing the two talking, fell silent. One of them spoke up, "Hey, those two are clearly flirting, right?" The person next to them agreed, "Yeah, definitely. I should have been suspicious the moment Yuseon brought him from who knows where. He's the kind of person who can stand next to Yuseon without looking out of place. They really do look perfect together, an ideal couple appearance-wise." Wait. Young Inju realized something and thought to herself, "But wait, this doesn't feel like flirting. It's weird. That guy is a little rude to Yuseon. Who talks to her like that?" When he suddenly shoved a bag into Yuseon's hand and turned to leave, the heroes beside them could only exclaim, "What?" Young Inju gossiped, "I don't understand why he would just leave like that. What, he just left like that, without a word? And what about this bag? Did he just leave it?" Yuseon replied with an embarrassed expression. Young Inju asked again, "So what's the deal?" The beautiful woman explained, "He said if the stories about him defeating Catherine gets out, he'll become famous overnight. But he also said fame is a hassle, and told me to take care of it." Young Inju frowned, her curiosity piqued. What kind of person is he really? Yuseon was silent, deep in thought, her face flushed. In the end, she wondered to herself, I really don't understand this person. Cut to inside the BH Sports Center. The atmosphere was tense. A man with a muscular build and sharp, cold eyes threw a powerful punch. He gritted his teeth in frustration. "Damn it, Park Hyun, you look pathetic." His whole body trembled, his fists clenched. This person is Park Hyun, an S-rank hero belonging to the Korean Hero Association from the Moon Sato Guild. He's talking to himself, guys. Despite his high rank, his situation at the moment is very unstable. Meanwhile, a man in a suit approaches, his voice calm but profound. "Please calm down, guild leader. They say a crouching frog jumps higher. The better you endure times like these, the more your reputation will grow." Hyoyun took a deep breath and nodded. "You're right. That way I can crush the bastards who look down on me." The other person nodded, his voice low and steady. "Exactly, the accumulated patience will become an explosive force. When that time comes, everyone will have to bow down to you. Especially when it comes to defeating a Caesarian. Who knows better than you, guild leader? One day, you will be remembered as the one who took down a Caesarian with the fewest people in the world. The Hero Association might even grant you exclusive rights to Caesarians." He laughed and said, "All right, no one knows better than me." Ha ha ha. Park Hyun's gaze was fixed on the trophy and an old group photo of the guild, silently thinking, but this guild has gotten so much smaller compared to 3 years ago. Yes, I'm still the only one who can kill that monster. Isn't that right? He gave a devious smile that couldn't be more devious. "Yes, no one else but you can do this. Guild leader." "Yes." Cut to another place. A man in a suit is sitting in a luxurious meeting room, discussing a young man who was just mentioned. The man held a piece of paper with Seo Dojun's picture on it, looking at it with a surprised expression and asking, "Seo Dojun? Is it him?" This person is Kang In-pyo, an S-rank hero belonging to the Korean Hero Association, and also the cousin of Kang Chul-yu. He seemed suspicious upon hearing this name. The reporter standing nearby confirmed that, a few months ago, Kang Chul-yu had tried to kill Seo Dojun by throwing him into an unidentified gate. However, instead of dying, he survived and even awakened, his powers inside. Kang In-pyo was stunned by this information. The reporter confirmed again, yes, that's right. The atmosphere in the room was tense, as the truth about Seo Dojun was gradually being revealed. Someone who was once framed has now become a potential threat. That person continued, "Sir, the client is Hong Hee-ju, the CEO of T Group, and also the second daughter of the VK Group." Hearing this, Kang Yong-pyo replied, "Even though she's the daughter of a large conglomerate, she's still stubbornly targeting a piece of trash like Seo Dojun." The other man explained further, "He is her illegitimate son with someone from T Group. When he was 7, they took him in to live with them. But then 6 years ago, when Hong Hee-ju gave birth to her own biological son, he was immediately kicked out of the house." Kang In-pyo let out a smirk, his lips curling in a sinister way. Blood is still blood after all. These chaebols, they really don't seem to care about that sort of thing. So how much was Chul-yu paid for this job? The other man immediately said, 3 billion won, sir. As soon as he heard the mention of the 3 billion won sum, he spoke with contempt. "Is that all? Didn't that fool Chul-yu already get beaten to a pulp?" The man bowed his head and answered cautiously, Yes, I heard he was only beaten, but his entire body was severely burned. Now he's blind and his life is worse than death. Kang In-pyo frowned. What a cruel bastard. If it were me, I would have chopped off all his limbs and smashed his skull. The other guy added, at the scene, it's rumored that Hyun Ji-yoon helped Seo Dojin. Kang In-pyo's voice was filled with surprise. Hyun Ji-yoon? Why did she help him? What's their relationship? The man stammered, I don't know. But thanks to her testimony, the case was quietly closed. Hearing this, Kang In-pyo became furious. He grabbed the other man by the collar and growled, investigate this for me right now. I need to know the relationship between those two. If there's nothing, then it must be a deal. Find out. The man, his face pale with fear, hurriedly left. He gripped his golf club tightly, thinking bitterly, it won't be long before Hong Hee-ju comes to me, hiring me to do what that fool Chul-yu couldn't. She's a chaebol heiress, she must have a lot of money. Elsewhere, Seo Dojin walked quietly through the streets, thinking to himself, as expected, hunting monsters in a crack is much more efficient than in a normal gate. I still need Hyun Ji-yoon's help to keep going in there. At that moment, the beautiful woman said to the protagonist, if I sell the Kajian's magic stones, they'll trace it back to me and question my abilities. The press will be all over me day and night, so I'll hold on to it for now. If you want to become famous, I won't stop you. So what will you do? Then Seo Dojin replied decisively, I'll find another way to enter the crack. But first, I need to rest at the luxurious house Seop prepared. As he stepped inside, he was surprised to see a row of unfamiliar shoes neatly arranged. His eyes narrowed in suspicion. He opened the door and stepped inside, and his younger sibling called out loudly, Brother! Seo Dojin was surprised. In front of him was a group of strangers, crowding the living room. The little girl rushed to hug him, trembling as she called out, Brother, brother, brother. The protagonist asked cautiously, Who are you people? A man stepped forward and introduced himself. Seo Dojun, I am Prosecutor Park Chan-yang, from the Seoul Central District Prosecutor's Office. You know Hwang Jang-seop, right? You are under arrest for participating in illegal loan sharking activities with Hwang Jang-seop, the CEO of HCS Capital. A while later at the prosecutor's office, Seo Dojin was handcuffed, sitting alone in an interrogation room. Outside, Park Chan-yang was walking while on the phone. Yes, Director Lee, the guy is behaving himself inside. Thank you for helping with my daughter's study abroad. Please send my regards to Director Hong. I entered the interrogation room with a triumphant smile. The reason I became a prosecutor is to remove trash from this society. He threw a stack of files on the table. Your crimes are enough for a 15-year prison sentence. I have all the evidence I need. But Seo Do-jun just stared silently, a look that drove Park insane. What's with that look? You think I'm lying? The protagonist cut him off and said, You're the bitch Hong Hee-ju is pulling the strings for, aren't you? You know who she is, right? He asked back, Who Hong Hee-ju, who's that? He thought to himself, judging by his reaction, the Hwangcheon Zero side must be about to collapse. I kept quiet because I didn't want to cause trouble, but now, just then, Park roared and got right in Seo Do-jun's face. You think Korean prosecutors are a joke? Your life is over. But Seo Do-jun's eyes suddenly flared. Park suddenly trembled, sweat running down his cheek. You. He was about to attack the protagonist, but just then an employee entered. Prosecutor Park, could you step outside for a moment? He went outside, annoyed. Is it broken or something? The other guy reported, Sir, I checked the machine. There are no errors. The hero scanner shows he's a normal person. Park yelled, Impossible, that's Seo Do-jun. Maybe the information about his awakening was wrong. Park looked at the results and mumbled, But that information came from the T Corporation. It can't be wrong. He even knows Hong Hee-ju's name. Who the hell is he? In the interrogation room, Seo Do-jun looked at the pile of papers and thought, Now I get it. Why people call Korean prosecutors bastards. Should I just kill them all? I'd just have to take Grandma and Eunyoung somewhere to hide. Just then the door burst open and a beautiful figure entered. Hyun Ju-seon asked, What are you doing here? The protagonist replied, I'm not sure myself. She continued, Don't do anything reckless. I know you're in shock, but using your power now will only make things worse. Hearing this, the protagonist asked, So are you going to help me? Hyun Ju-seon replied, Not exactly help. I just found out you didn't do anything wrong. If I didn't know, it would be fine. But now that I know an innocent person is being falsely accused, I can't just ignore it. The protagonist added, Is that so? Hyun Ju-seon reassured him. The Hero Association will investigate. They're monitoring heroes. Without licenses and the new rift at the house in Mappo. Interrupting her, the protagonist asked, Yes, but what about my family? She replied with a bit of an attitude. What do you think, I am your secretary or something? Why should I have to check on your family too? But a single glance from the protagonist made her answer, Your family is safe. Don't worry. Hearing that, he felt relieved and said, Thank you, I'll repay this debt. Yuzeon nodded slightly and turned away. Just try to hang in there a little longer. I'll try to resolve this as quickly as possible. Hyun Juzion didn't choose to directly prove the innocence of Dojun. Instead, she exposed the acts of bribery and illegal lobbying by prosecutor Park Yulian, getting him dismissed from his position. A fair investigation confirmed that Dojun was not involved in the incident, although he couldn't avoid punishment for using his abilities without a hero license. Thanks to Hyun Juzion's active defense, the sentence was commuted to probation. An announcement came from headquarters. A previously unseen monster is attacking civilians in England. It resembles a mantis, 1.5 meters tall with 4 eyes and an extremely powerful jump. Seo Do-jun frowned slightly, confirming it was a Macassian. Hyun Juzion asked in surprise. Wait, what? How do you know that name? That's a new monster. Right now, only the association knows that name. Monster names aren't random. Mana stones contain not just energy, but also inherent information. Analyzing a mana stone reveals the monster's name and other data. On the current Earth, this is done with science. In the fallen world, it was done with magic. So if the same monster appears in both worlds, most of them are monsters Dojun already knows the names of. The protagonist continued, with the Marcasians, you just need to use red fire ant extract to deal with them. Hearing that, Hyun Juzeon asked again, red fire ants. He glanced at her and replied, it's harmless to humans, but it's a powerful, paralyzing poison for Marcasians. Spray it on them and they'll stop rampaging immediately. As if she'd just heard something unbelievable, she asked again, Seo Dojun, who are you really? Hyun Juzeon looked at Dojun suspiciously. Dojun just remained silent. The car continued to speed down the road. No one said another word. Being ignored, she shouted, hey, are you even listening to me? Without answering her question, the protagonist replied, what would happen if I killed Hong Hee-ju? The protagonist's stepmother sat in her room, her expression tense and furious, her face tight as if suppressing an impending explosion of rage. But before her, the bald man stood silently for a moment. Finally, his voice rang out. That's the situation. She sat in her chair, her face still tense. Why, Hyun Juzeon? The bald man replied, it's not very clear. We don't know what their relationship with Dojun is, or how they know each other. Hearing that, she stared wide-eyed and screamed with pent-up anger, that Hyun Juzeon bitch, what the hell is going on? She slammed her hand on the table, shot up, and roared furiously, what do you mean Dojun isn't a hero? You clearly said that brat had awakened. The bald guy broke out in a sweat. About that, it's true he seemed to have awakened, but it's possible he possesses some kind of ability. That can fool the hero detection machine. But that's all just speculation. Hearing this, she screamed in rage. Hey, contact Kang Yampio, 20 billion. No, I'll pay 30 billion. Tell him to start immediately. Scene changed to Kang Yampio's side. He was pushing his luck. I won't agree to just 30 billion. Tell her the price is double. The man in the suit beside him asked, double, isn't that a bit much? Kang Yampio added, you don't get it. To Hong Hee-ju, I'm the only choice. And when this is all over, 60 billion won will be nothing to her. But now Hyun Juzeon is involved too. If I have to face an S rank, then this is the least I should get, the very least. The subordinate beside him tilted his head and muttered, Hyun Juzeon, she's definitely a dangerous opponent. Immediately after, a terrifying sound rang out. Bam, Kang. Yampio scowled, stood up, and clicked his tongue in contempt. You think all S ranks are the same? Just give me 20 minutes and I'll take down Hyun Juzeon cleanly. The subordinate's face went pale. He quickly bowed and replied, yes, sir. A self-satisfied smirk played on Kang Yampio's lips. Has the association responded yet? A subordinate nodded. Yes, they said they can't increase the payment due to the current conditions in the United Kingdom. The association has publicly announced that they are carefully selecting heroes to dispatch. He paced around muttering under his breath. Damn it! The pay is too low, but it's hard to say I don't want to go for that reason. Those bastards at the association are the real gangsters. When are we departing? The subordinate answered immediately. The flight is in 3 days. They've scheduled a joint transfer with the heroes from Japan. Oh, the man raised his eyebrows and nodded. Oh, Japan, that's good. I was planning on visiting Takashi anyway. He looked out the high-rise window, his eyes full of ambition. The Macassian, a new monster, with no known weaknesses discovered yet. If I can find its weakness, my value will skyrocket, haha. Scene changed to the skies over Cambridge, United Kingdom. Lightning tore through the air, purple bolts screaming frantically across the pitch-black sky. Right in the heart of the city, a hideous giant creature appeared. It had a pair of long legs like iron pillars. The panicked crowd fled in disarray, forming a dark wave of people on the cobblestone streets. The creature stood tall in the square, its body towering, its eyes glowing a brilliant yellow, its body covered in steel-like black scales. A group of heroes was present, standing in a line before the monster. The leader carried a large sword. The warriors behind them nervously gripped their weapons, their entire bodies trembling from the invisible pressure of the creature before them. In the flashing lightning, only the sound of ragged breaths could be heard. Can we survive this? The moment the giant creature let out a terrifying screech, its giant arm swung up, whipping down like the Grim Reaper's scythe. Crash! The ground shattered like a cracker. The heroes on the front line were thrown back by the shockwave. The warriors tried to react, all rushing forward to attack. A female mage immediately created a purple barrier, magical light enveloping her. The monster ganged up on collapse to the ground. Headless, it was lifeless. But things didn't end there. In front of them were many more monsters, just like it. The terrifying scene spread throughout Cambridge. Buildings were on fire, the blazing red flames reflecting against the dark sky. The heroes of the United Kingdom gave their all to stop the monster's advance to the south. But there was no specific information about the enemy, no strategy, only fear and a growing sense of helplessness. The final line of defense in Cambridge had completely collapsed. Flames consumed every street. Black smoke rose high, obscuring the sky. The steel-armored monsters marched south without any further obstacles. Less than 60 kilometers ahead of them was the capital, London. Its body was like a statue of a war god, a cold light emanating from its dull gray metallic shell. Suddenly, a swarm of monsters collapsed, sprawled on the ground. From the sky above, the sound of helicopter blades echoed. A team of heroes observed the battle from the helicopter door, their faces tense. One of them screamed upon seeing the horrific scene below. "My God, it's real." Among the group, people were surprised to see her, a beautiful woman with bright, cold eyes. She was Hyun-Juzion. Ms. Hyun-Juzion was right. The red ant extract really works. That Macasian, it can't hold out much longer. You're incredible. But Juzion said nothing, because all of those methods were taught to her by the protagonist. Kang Iampio secretly observed Hyun-Juzion, his sharp eyes filled with suspicion. No way. Impossible. For a woman to have skills at this level? What the hell is going on? But Juzion paid no attention to his gaze. She turned her decisive voice ringing out. All right, it's time to end this. Two team members immediately responded, their eyes excited. Roger, without a hint of hesitation. The entire team leaped from the helicopter bay, diving down like arrows slicing through the wind. Juzion led the way, pulling out a silver dagger with her right hand, cold light flashing from the swung blade. Scene change. The plane that took off from London has landed at the International Airport. Outside the terminal, a swarm of reporters was already waiting. Cameras were raised high. The sound of whispers and hurried footsteps echoed through the arrivals hall. Wow, so many reporters. Well, it's Hyun-Juzion after all. Someone in the group whispered. There's no doubt about it. She's the MVP of the UK campaign. The black-haired man added, she found the Macasian's weakness and became a true hero. Another person chimed in, their voice low but excited. I heard the British royal family is even planning to knight Hyun-Juzion. At that moment, the person next to them shouted, there she is. All the cameras turned at once. Hyun-Juzion pulled her suitcase towards the exit. The camera flashes were overwhelming, exploding the moment she appeared. The reporters barraged her with questions. Hyun-Juzion, please look this way. How did you discover the Macasian's weakness? Juzion was silent, her cold gaze sweeping over the chaotic crowd. Behind her, Kang Iampio also appeared with a damn smug smile. Folks, Mr. Kang Iampio, can you share a few words? I heard you were the one who caught the most Macasians on this trip. Today, the 200-member delegation, including hero Hyun-Juzion, has returned home. As everyone knows, it was the proud efforts of our Korean heroes that saved England from disaster. The key to hunting the Macasians was to spray red ant extract into the air, a strategy first proposed by Hyun-Juzion, and then an interview. Kang Iampio was also speaking on the screen. Below, the protagonist watched it all, his cold and furious eyes fixed on the screen. He gritted his teeth, roaring internally, Kang Iampio. In a quiet cafe, where soft yellow light shone on the wooden tables and chairs, Dujun was sitting with Hyun-Juzion. She placed several luxury gift bags on the table, saying gently, these are for you. Dujun looked up in surprise, frowning. Gifts. Juzion smiled and pointed to each bag. This one is for Eunyoung and your grandmother, and this one is for you. Why don't you take it home and open it? You don't need to open it right here. His eyes, Dujun's gaze swept over an outfit, neatly folded inside the bag. High-quality fabric, meticulous stitching. He mumbled, this stuff looks expensive. Juzion said in a calm voice, this is a small thank you for your help. Thanks to you, I've become a true hero. Compared to what I received, this gift is nothing. If you need it, I could even buy you a car. But Dujun calmly replied, if I need one, I'll let you know. But in the end, you helped me too. Juzion narrowed her eyes, speaking slowly. Even if I ask how you knew the Macasian's weakness, you're not going to answer. Are you? But Dujun's gaze remained cold, unwavering. What reason do I have to answer you? Yuzian stared at him silently, filled with confusion, but said nothing more. She sighed. So what's your plan now? She thought to herself, I'm not expecting an answer. Like for world peace from someone like him. But if he targets Hong Hiju or Kang Iampio, it'll definitely cause chaos. I have to stop it before it's too late. Dujun tilted his head, his gaze deep. First I should buy a house. Yuzian was silent for a moment, then replied, Is your current house a rental? Scene changed to a lavish mansion, where powerful people were partying in a hot tub, with wine and women. Amidst the dim purple lights and pounding music, Kang Iampio was enjoying himself. Hyun Juzian. She's so different from before. Knowing the Macassian's weakness, and hiding how she discovered it. She's clearly hiding something. Earlier on the plane, he had asked her, Forget the Macassians, what's going on with you and Seo Du-jun? Juzeon coolly replied, What are you talking about? He raised an eyebrow. You ruined an entire prosecution just to save him. Right! You were there when he took down Keoliu, weren't you? Yuzion adjusted her hair, her eyes indifferent. Kang Cheoliu was the one who started it. The failed assassination in the gate. Remember, even on that day, he was the one who started the trouble. He smirked. Ha ha. That guy was an idiot. Doing such stupid things for a bit of pocket change. It's no wonder he died. But anyway, he was my cousin, you understand. In short, I have a reason to get revenge on Seo Du-jun. Yuzion looked at him silently, her sharp eyes showing no emotion. She replied nonchalantly, Do as you please. I have nothing to do with this. He frowned a little, surprised by her indifferent attitude. Huh. Weren't they close? Or is it not what I thought? Yuzian leaned her head back on the chair, closed her eyes, and said softly, Anyway, there's no need for me to interfere. But those words echoed in his mind. He repeated her words with a knowing smirk, full of hidden meaning. No need to interfere, huh? That's really what she said. Seo Du-jun? That bastard is definitely hiding something. Scene changed to England, the Long Susan Strawberry region. The place had just been heavily devastated by a wave of monsters. The British Hero Association was trying to collect as many mana stones as possible before the second wave hit. They dispatched a large number of heroes into the rift. Among the gate guards, one lamented, What a shame. If we had the red flower ant extract, even D-ranks like us could take down a Macassian. The other one nodded. Yeah, if we could have stopped the wave earlier, we could have mined a whole source of magic stones. A rift that has had a monster wave can't be turned into a gate anymore. I hear the second wave will have a different monster. Not Macassians. Right. Just thinking about it gives me the creeps. No one knows what will crawl out this time. Some countries have been wiped out just because of that. Suddenly, one of the two soldiers looked up and frowned. I feel like someone's coming out of the rift. The raid team from earlier, it's only been 5 hours. The other waved his hand. Come on, focus on your guard duty. Civilians are sure to flock here when news of the mana stones gets out. Just then the rift suddenly glowed intensely, red cracks shooting out like lightning. One of the soldiers panicked immediately. From deep within the glowing red rift, a giant dark figure emerged. Its body was massive, its skin as black and glossy as steel, its eyes glowing amidst a crimson energy mist. Its heavy footsteps made the ground tremble. What the hell is that? It's not a hero. Look at those clothes and the scars. The blonde one shouted, trembling. Contact headquarters now. But before he could pull out his device, a blue light flashed, and a black metallic hand shot out. Before he could react, he was lifted by an invisible force. What the hell? He drew his weapon to attack and shouted, Bastard! But he was immediately slammed to the ground. The attacker continued to walk coldly, glowing blue rings of mana radiating from his body. He whispered in a hoarse, contemptuous voice, too weak. He clenched his fist. The light flared up once more. The two guards caught in his grip were crushed like ants. Blood splattered everywhere. Screams and groans echoed throughout the area. He raised his hand and black and purple energy beams shot out. A device appeared displaying the number 19.26%. It's been 15 days in this world, and my power hasn't even recovered to 20%. I had to create a spatial rift for this, and it was a failure. No, first I need to increase the mana concentration. But as he stepped past the soldiers' corpses, a survivor wheezed out a question. Who are you? He just gave a light flick, turning the soldier into paste. Amidst the blood and bodies, he muttered coldly, First I must wipe out these insect-like weaklings. Scene changed to Paju, South Korea. In the middle of a green field under a clear sky, Du-jun was walking slowly carrying a large bag on his shoulder. Suddenly his eyes flashed with vigilance. He stopped and looked up. A sound grew closer. From underground, giant worms erupted in unison, tearing up the turf and creating huge columns of dust. Du-jun stood still, showing no fear. He tilted his head, sensing the movement in the ground. 26 of them within a 100-meter radius. Let's see how many survive. Flames erupted from his palm. Du-jun gave a faint smile and threw a fireball at the ground. The ground cracked and scorched along a spreading path. chunks of earth and rock rising up, awaiting the wrath he was about to unleash. Dojun stood up straight, calmly watching the charging monsters, as if he were just strolling in a park. Scene changed to a high-rise building, in a modern city. In an office, an elderly man was sipping coffee, and asked in a calm voice, "Right, what kind of person is he?" A man with glasses replied with a serious expression, "He's very difficult to deal with, but I received confirmation from him personally that he is in fact a hero. This man with glasses is Min Hong-ji, deputy chief of the Korean Hero Association." The other man asked, "Didn't you say the device for measuring a hero's power couldn't measure him?" Min Hong-ji nodded with a helpless look. "I couldn't get an answer for that." Vice Chairman Park Seo-ong-cheon slammed the table in anger. "That insolent brat! If the association asks, he should answer." The calm man raised a hand. "One more thing. Did you find out anything else?" Min Hong-ji flipped through documents and shook his head. "Not much, but the story begins with a vicious conspiracy orchestrated by the hero, Kang Cheolyu himself. After retaliating against Kang Cheolyu and single-handedly dealing with the new rift in Mappo, although some of his actions were a bit excessive, what can be confirmed from this is Seo Dojun's overwhelming power." The man crossed his arms and added, "A wild horse that's hard to control. But that means he's a truly fine warhorse. He has requested a hero license, officially while also asking to bypass the procedures, because he has a guarantor." "Who is the guarantor?" "Someone in the association," Min Hong-ji said seriously. "It's the S-rank hero Hyunju Zeon." The two men's eyes widened in shock. Meanwhile, Seo Dojun just gave a cold smile. Seo Dojun looked at the new hero card in his hand, an official S-rank card, the 8th person to reach S-rank in South Korea. "Thanks to this, I can freely hunt monsters in the Rift Zone." Perfect. Around him lay the scattered corpses of giant worm-like monsters, strewn about. Back in the meeting room, the man burst out laughing. "Ha ha ha!" The moment he got his registration card, he rushed straight to the Perusa Rift Zone. "What an extraordinary guy," Min Hong-ji continued. "Indeed, such proactivity is rare." Park Seo-ong-cheon exclaimed in shock, "Impossible! He entered a level 2 rift alone, without a guild or teammates. Is he insane?" Everyone fell silent. The chairman's eyes glinted with cold contemplation. Park Seo-ong-cheon, who had just been shouting hurriedly, exclaimed, "Mr. Chairman, if that Seo Dojun guy actually comes back alive, please let's announce his identity and promote him heavily. Since he is South Korea's 8th S-rank hero." Deputy Chief Mun objected. "That might not be what he wants. We should ask his opinion first." Park Seo-ong-cheon immediately shouted, "No, Deputy Chief Min, why do you say such irritating things? If we announce another S-rank appearing during these unstable times, won't it reassure the public? Isn't that right, Mr. Chairman?" He nodded slightly and replied, "I understand both of your opinions. I will meet with him personally." In the distance, Dojun decisively landed a devastating kick on the giant monster. As the horde of monsters charged towards him, his hand burst into flames. At that moment, the protagonist spun around, and a giant ring of fire erupted from Seo Dojun's position, incinerating the entire swarm of monsters around him. Their bodies were sliced in half by the intense flames, burning to ash in an instant. After the attack, he landed gently on the ground. Dojun looked up at the clear blue sky and sighed softly. As expected, that took a lot of mana. "I need a weapon." Scene changed to the Gassen Hero Complex. Inside a shop, a muscular blacksmith was sitting and playing on his phone. The shop's bell jingled as Seo Dojun walked in. The man replied, "Welcome. Please tell me the name of the person who made the reservation." Dojun didn't say much, just slammed a bag on the counter. "Make me a weapon with what's in here." The blacksmith looked at the bag and asked, "You came to forge a weapon with this? If you don't have a reservation, we're not taking new clients. Please go find another shop." The protagonist asked further, "You're not taking any more because you have too many orders. You're the one who answered the phone, right?" The man, still trying to play on his phone, added, "Damn it, I told you we're not taking any more. We're busy, go try another shop. All the blacksmiths in this area are skilled." At that moment, Dojun grabbed the blacksmith by the collar and lifted him up. The man yelled, "Are you crazy? What the hell are you doing?" The protagonist didn't answer and just asked, "Are you the owner?" The panicked blacksmith replied, "I'm the owner's son." Dojun coldly commanded, "Get your father out here, now. I heard this place makes good stuff, that's why I came." The man's face turned pale as he backed away and shouted, "Dad! We have a customer causing trouble." Then a sturdy old man walked in. He was the legendary blacksmith, the one who crafted weapons for the hero Choi Cheonwon. He frowned and asked, "Who sent you here?" Dojun answered succinctly, "Hyunju Seon." Hearing that name, both the old man and his son's eyes widened in shock. Sweat beaded on their foreheads. The atmosphere in the shop changed instantly. The old man asked again, "Did Juzeon really send you?" Dojun didn't bother to answer. He just opened the bag and took out a reddish-brown piece of material, placing it gently on the table. As soon as Choi Cheon-won touched it, he was startled. This is... The son was amazed. Dad, what is this? The old man stared intently at the piece of material and said softly, It's the fang of a giant black serpent. It's been a long time since I've seen one of these. The protagonist added, Forge me a good sword from it, as long as possible. The old man was a bit surprised. Choi Cheon-won growled, You really don't know anything. With a rare material like this, if you forge it too long, the durability will weaken. The protagonist ignored his advice and replied, Join them together and forge a long sword. I need it to be the maximum possible length. And if you can increase its mana absorption capability, that would be even better. Hearing this, the son furiously shouted, I've had enough! Who are you to be so demanding? My father is someone who only forges weapons with a mana absorption of level 3 or higher. Dojin remained silent. He just picked up a pre-forged sword from the rack, and then commented, This one is probably only around level 5. The protagonist channeled a bit of his power into the sword, causing it to illuminate the entire room. Before the stunned father and son, he crushed the sword like a piece of tofu. Both father and son were flabbergasted when they saw Dojun shatter the sword with his bare hands in the blink of an eye. Dojun dropped the remaining piece to the ground, his voice as cold as ice. If you're going to forge garbage like this, you'd be better off quitting the business right now. Scene changed to a green forest. A monster wakes up and lets out a huge roar, making the entire forest tremble. From the bushes, the protagonist emerges with sharp eyes, still as filthy as ever. He clasped his hands and a flame ignited between his palms. In an instant, he dodged its stomp and immediately jumped up, slashing at its shoulder, causing it to roar in pain. But while it was stunned, the giant monster grabbed a nearby tree to use as a weapon. But the protagonist split the tree in two and charged forward, his whole body radiating killing intent, continuing to rush forward at an unbelievable speed, aiming straight for his target. But before it could regain its senses, he charged again, unleashing a series of flaming strikes, scorching the opponent's body. The monster collapsed, its body torn open. But just then, a green power began to regenerate, its body after the slash. Seeing this in just an instant, he was behind the giant monster. He touched its back. Boom! Its entire body was charred black, screaming in a sea of fire. Its blackened body was engulfed in flames. Its head also fell from its neck and tumbled to the ground. He let out a breath, his eyes calm. Humph! It's not easy to maintain a mana blade for that long. His hand still glowed with a burning red light, but his shoulders drooped slightly from fatigue. The protagonist gently took a cup from his backpack. He placed it on the ground and opened the lid, collecting blood from the corpse of the monster he had just killed. He muttered to himself, To think I had to go through all that trouble to hunt a cyclops just for this. Scene changed to a night in front of a blacksmith shop. He hands the cup to the shop owner's son. The son examined it and frowned, confused. What is this? The protagonist replied curtly, Give it to your father, then turned and walked away. The son asked again, What is this for? Then muttered, What the hell? The protagonist didn't turn back, just said loudly as he walked, I'm leaving it there. The son, startled, shouted, Hey, at least explain what it is. Outside, under the dark sky lit by bright skyscrapers, the protagonist thought to himself, The basic materials are all here, but if I want to increase the mana absorption, there's only one way, and the only place to get that thing is no longer on Earth. Elsewhere at an outdoor resort, a phone vibrated. The caller ID was displayed on the screen. The beautiful woman relaxing by the pool answered the phone. She put the phone to her ear and asked, What's up, Brazil? At a noisy swimming pool, laughter filled the air. In the area with lounge chairs where sunlight streamed across the grass, the beautiful woman wrapped in a blue and white checkered towel was relaxing on a sun lounger. Next to her was Young Inju. The two were chatting lightly. Peace and joy spread through the sunshine. She spoke up. So the association has decided to send heroes to Brazil. Young Inju beside her answered without hesitation, Yeah, it seems the Brazilian government and the association are at their wits' end. Now, they're in the process of completely sealing off that crack zone. Over in Brazil, the monsters there are really aggressive. But they only drop a few mediocre magic stones. The association is paying well, though, so the whole guild decided to go. Come with us. Bring him along, too. Lately, the heroes have been gossiping about the 5 members of the 8S rankers. He's one of them, right? Right. The beautiful woman shifted and replied, I'm not so sure. Young Inju said, How can you not know? I heard you and that guy are really close. The beautiful woman reacted with embarrassment. What are you talking about? Young Inju giggled. You're so cute. A light laugh rang out. The atmosphere between them briefly became lively. Young Inju added, I've even seen you two hunting ghouls, all by yourselves. The beautiful woman replied in a mumble, Well, that's nothing. All right, if we're going, let's go. Young Inju laughed loudly, her voice cheerful. Yay, thanks. The seemingly light atmosphere was suddenly interrupted by a meaningful comment. But I'm not sure if he'll agree to come with us. Scene changed to the old man at the blacksmith shop. He was sitting and staring at the item in front of him, muttering in disbelief. How did he know? It's not a metallic material, yet it can be melted and joined so precisely. His face showed clear confidence, as if these technical secrets were knowledge he had accumulated in a past life. His gaze was heavy, thinking about a technology beyond human comprehension. The old man asked further, how did you know that the blood of a Cyclops could be used like this? For now, I'll try to make the longest version, just as you requested. I should be able to make it up to 180 centimeters, right? The protagonist described what he wanted. Make it a two-handed style, but adjust the handle so I can swing it with one hand. A weight of about 5 kilograms should be right. The old man raised an eyebrow slightly, a look of surprise mixed with interest, muttering, huh? Why is he suddenly speaking so respectfully? I thought he was just some nobody, but he actually knows basic etiquette, if not for that. Could it be that this weapon is truly the most valuable? The old man added, 5 kilograms is quite heavy to swing with one hand, especially if you have to swing it over and over, not just once or twice. The protagonist smiled calmly. His reassuring voice said, just make it for me. How long will it take to finish? The old man replied, it'll take at least a month. The mana absorption rate can probably reach level 7. Hearing this, the protagonist thought, level 7, huh? His gaze as sharp as a blade, his heart suddenly heavy with the thought, can a level like that even withstand my true power? A faint light reflected in his cold eyes, as if he were weighing an important choice. Finally, he tilted his head slightly, whispering in a low but firm voice, just as I thought, I still need that thing. He left his voice low but resolute. As the protagonist left the shop, he said, for now just make the mold. The process of enhancing mana absorption can wait until I bring back the materials. The owner watched his retreating figure, thinking in astonishment, is he really going to find that material? A few days later, a cityscape unfolded before them, with a river winding through modern buildings. A black Rolls-Royce stopped in front of a luxurious building. The protagonist stood still, exuding confidence. His voice was gentle. Thank you, I'll take good care of it. The beautiful woman continued, it's nothing. The woman in the uniform raised her eyebrows, her gaze a mix of curiosity and embarrassment. But do you see me as that small? You even told me to go buy a car that costs $1 billion. He smiled softly. His voice, tinged with surprise, escaped him. This is just right. She lowered her head, her cheeks blushing. Then she asked the protagonist, while he was admiring his new car, what happened with the Hero Association? Then Seo Dojin explained, they said they would release my personal information. I told them if they wanted to do that, there would be a price to pay. Standing beside him, the beautiful woman asked in surprise, a price? Chairman, Na Taehuang is someone who values the greater good. He said decisively, it seems so, the negotiations failed. The beautiful woman asked again, can't you just try to get along with them a little? I'd be very grateful if you would also consider my position as the one who vouched for your identity. As for Seo Dojin, the car door closed with a click. Seo Dojin was already in the driver's seat, leaving the beautiful woman outside frozen stiff. A moment later, the space between them fell silent. The beautiful woman spoke first. Right now, the association is probably swamped with having to dispatch people to the crack zone in Brazil. Wait until things have calmed down a bit. Then you can talk to the chairman again. Hearing the familiar place name, Seo Dojun interrupted. Brazil. Yes. The beautiful woman confirmed Brazil and continued. They said they're going to completely close off a part of the crack zone. There. At the same time, they both turned to look straight at each other. Their eyes were gentle and the atmosphere was romantic. The protagonist asked, are you going to? Yes. Her heart skipped a beat at the sudden question. She was a bit flustered, but eventually admitted, I am. What do you mean? Seo Dojun looked straight at her, his gaze steady, and said decisively, let's go together. The unexpected offer left her stunned. Her heart raced and her cheeks flushed pink. At the same time, the protagonist's stepmother was seething, her eyes flashing with extreme anger. Chairman Na Taehuang, a man with a fearsome appearance, sat opposite her, his hands clasped together. His eyes gleamed in the darkness. The protagonist's stepmother screamed, asking again in a voice of disbelief, What? How much more do you want? Chairman Na Taehuang growled, his face scrunched up. This isn't the time to be stingy over a few pennies. Director, Hong? She jumped up in a rage and screamed, You've already taken 30 billion won and you dare ask for more. When are you going to get the job done? I should have hired someone else. She added, as long as there's money. There's no shortage of people willing to kill, without asking any questions. There are plenty of people like that out there. Hearing this, he scoffed, KKK. But would anyone else accept that request? He leaned back, looking at Director Hong with a mocking expression. Looks like your intelligence network is pretty weak. How about I give you a little free information as a bonus? That guy is an S rank. The 8th S rank hero of Korea. The room went silent. Everything seemed to start revolving around that name. She glared and shouted, "That loser is an S rank. Are you trying to trick me?" He replied with a somewhat mocking tone, "You don't believe me? That's information I had to pay to get. If you don't want to listen, then just wait until you're killed by CO Dojin, and then you can regret it." Looking at his back, the protagonist's stepmother said, Wait, is Dojin really an S rank?" The air felt suffocating. She couldn't believe what she had just heard. Her face was filled with confusion. Then she screamed, "If he's an S rank, then I can't handle him myself. If it's money, I'll give you more. Do whatever it takes. Just get it done." A smile appeared on his lips as he replied, his eyes gleaming with calculation. "Money is important, but it would be even better if we become close business, partners in the future." Every word seemed to be thrown out with hidden meaning. This wasn't just a monetary transaction, but the beginning of a network of underground power being formed. She added, "Whatever it takes, please, you must kill him." Her words were cut off by the ringing of a phone. Ding ding, it shattered the atmosphere. He looked at his phone for a long moment and then continued. "It seems that heaven is on Director Hong's side." She asked, confused, "What do you mean?" He held up his phone and said, "There's going to be a very good opportunity to kill Seo Dojin." In the blue sky, dotted with fluffy white clouds, an airplane flew by. 2 documents appear. One note has the words "True Hero" with the subheading, "Hero's Identity Revealed." Next to it is an image of 2 mysterious figures, one purple, one black, standing out against a white background. Inside the plane, a man in a black suit, white shirt and black tie, along with online comments saying, "Kang Seonho is also going to Brazil." Kang Seonho soloed the entire P team and climbed to the #1 spot in the Awakener rankings. He can smell money like a demon. Is Brazil paying that much? But Park Hyo-yoon is definitely going for the money too, right? Since the route is completely blocked, he must be out of money. Hyun Ju-seon is going too. If you become a national hero, you can have some fun. You gotta play your cards when the tide comes in. Hyun Ju-seon is so hot. Even Kang, Impyo is going, so Brazil must be paying a lot. I heard that if you get a magic stone during this operation, it's tax-free, and you get to keep all of it. If you can get 1 mid-grade magic stone, you're set for life. The protagonist gets a comment saying, "But who is Seo Dojin? Is he a rookie or his debut? We'll have to wait for this Brazil match to see." Next, Daegu Krokogaza commented, "He's young. They probably sent him for experience, but his skills are terrible." Finally, Sogang Speedy asserted, "If he's an S rank, that's as good as he's gonna get." The plane glides smoothly through the blue sky, among fluffy white clouds, a moment of peace before everything changes. A thoughtful and anxious gaze follows the plane. Night has not yet fallen, but destiny is taking off with that plane. The clear blue sky stretches over the city of Sao Paulo, Brazil. Tall buildings stand majestically in the morning sun. This is the center where the headquarters of the Hero Association of Brazil is located. 2 men in elegant suits are talking. One reports in a low voice, "The Korean hero team landed at the airport not long ago." The bearded man's eyes widened upon hearing this, exclaiming with surprise and satisfaction, "Oh, that's good news. They're the fastest responding country among those we've requested." He continued, "Some heroes didn't even stop by their accommodations, but immediately took action as soon as they arrived. Truly a nation of efficiency. However, I'm worried the Korean heroes will find out about that incident." In that moment, a deep sense of unease flashed across his face. The bearded man, who was sitting with his hands clasped in thought, looked up at the ceiling and replied with a slight frown, "No secret lasts forever. Keep things under control, at least until this operation is over." After a moment of silence, the long-haired man nodded slightly in response. "I understand." The bearded man let out a heavy sigh, his eyes heavy with worry, as if trying to suppress the rising tide of underlying concerns. An image of a lifeless body lying on the ground appears. The man's large body was now just a cold corpse, his face bearing the marks of battle. He was Marais, Brazil's national hero, who had just been defeated and killed by an unidentified entity, not a monster. The image on the black box was not of a grotesque creature, but clearly the silhouette of a human, standing silently amidst a swirl of vibrant purple energy that spun like a storm. Its eyes were cold and bright, its face so sharp it no longer seemed human. In the end, what the hell happened at the crack near Santarém? A human, not a monster, had killed one of their strongest heroes. And this was just the beginning of a terrible secret, yet to be revealed. In a large auditorium, heroes are sitting and watching a presentation. The beautiful woman sits quietly in a corner, her eyes focused on her phone. She is texting our protagonist. "Where are you? The briefing has already started." The phone vibrates, displaying the reply, "I've changed course. The destination is a bit farther." She frowns and types back, puzzled, "Farther? Where are you talking about?" And then the words appear cold and clear, Santarém. Her eyes widened. Santarem, you went to the most dangerous crack zone by yourself. On the stage, the presentation continued as if nothing had happened. After 2 days of acclimatization locally, the heroes will be deployed sequentially to the designated crack zones. At a luxurious hotel called the Bomb Hotel, in front of the hotel entrance, a yellow taxi has just stopped. The beautiful woman gets out carrying a suitcase and a handbag when she suddenly stops, seeing a familiar face appear. He blocks the car door and questions her. Where are you going? The schedule hasn't even started yet. She doesn't hesitate, her voice firm. I have somewhere to be. He frowned, looking confused. And where would that be? Her eyes glinted with determination. The answer came out cold but clear, Santarem. Then she immediately left, the car driving off, leaving him with the thought, Santarem, isn't that the place the Brazilian Association told us not to go? In the middle of a bleak forest near the Santarem crack, dim light shines down on the barren land. The heroes walk in a steady rhythm. Leading the way is this protagonist in a white shirt. Well, now that we're here, you could at least tell me why you were in such a hurry. But the protagonist just replied nonchalantly, I was waiting for you. Aren't you the one who's late? She frowned in protest. If you had told me beforehand, I wouldn't have had to wait, Dojin. Okay, fine. Let's just drop it. Tell me, what are you really after by coming here? The protagonist kept walking forward and replied curtly, Blue Croc. Hearing that she looked ahead, her voice cold. Blue Croc, is that all? He then added, do I need any other reason? After a few seconds of silence, she decided to drop the nagging and looked up to ask again. Seo Dojun, do you know I'm 3 years older than you? The protagonist didn't turn his head and just said flatly, so. The girl was taken aback for a moment, then snapped, it's not so. It's about respecting your elders. He replied calmly, I am still speaking to you formally, am I not? You can always speak comfortably with me too. Do you want me to make our relationship awkward? Fine, I'll use formal language. Hearing that, she grimaced and retorted, no, that's not what I meant. A thought bubbles up. I can't believe he dares to act like that with Hyun Jaseon. The black-haired man beside them spoke up with a worried tone. Anyway, just barging into a crack zone like this. Is it really okay? The brown-haired man immediately reassured him, don't worry. We have the hero Hyun Jaseon here. What's there to be afraid of? The black-haired man frowned slightly and said, I know she's strong, but the one leading the way is a rookie. The long-haired man smirked meaningfully. A rookie? He chuckled softly and propped his weapon on his shoulder. His eyes gleamed with confidence. Not all rookies are the same. If it's Seo Dojin, he's probably a legendary tier rookie. 2 members of the group heard this and asked again, is he really that strong? But while they were still chattering in the back, Dojun and the beautiful woman up front were continuing their conversation in their usual argumentative style. Both of their faces clearly showed that neither was willing to back down, but there was no hostility in their eyes. On the contrary, it was as if a special, unspoken understanding existed between them. The beautiful woman turned to look at Seo Dojin with a skeptical gaze, mixed with a bit of worry. Seo Dojin, don't tell me you came here planning to wipe out this crack zone. He glanced at her and replied calmly, I came here to get materials. Why would I destroy it for no reason? Then he emphasized, you have to make the most of everything you can get. She frowned, repeating the word in her head as if she still didn't fully understand. Materials. Yes. Just as the conversation reached a dead end, a screech rang out as the ground trembled. A creature with giant claws shot down from the sky like a bolt of lightning. The young man with the shield met the attack with all his might. The impact created a thunderous explosion, kicking up a cloud of dust. Immediately, the long-haired man yelled out an order. Snap out of it. Get in formation now. He tightened his grip on his weapon, his sharp eyes scanning the battlefield. But then, as he faced the monster that had just appeared, he too had to grit his teeth. Damn it, it's even more terrifying than it looked in the photos. The 2 heroes behind him also began to show fear. The brown-haired one swallowed hard, his voice trembling. Wait, isn't this a little too dangerous? The black-haired one also stood frozen, his eyes wide with doubt, clearly sensing the threatening power radiating from the enemy. Then a deep voice rang out, move. A figure stepped forward, moving past them decisively. Seo Dojin with a sword in his hand. For a moment a memory flashed through Dojin's mind. The old man who had given him this sword had warned him. It's not easy to get a blue croco's heart with your bare hands. I'll lend you my prized sword. Use it to get the materials. Now standing in the middle of a real battlefield, he crouched down, gripping the sword's hilt tightly. Then he swung it powerfully. The slash tore through the air, with terrifying force, striking the ground, and creating a slash that sent dust swirling. The glint from the blade was blinding, as it shot straight towards the target. The opening attack of the so-called legendary rookie. In just a moment, the monster's body was covered in countless sword wounds and collapsed to the ground dead in an instant. The long-haired man's jaw dropped in amazement, and he blurted out, as expected, The two heroes behind him turned pale, their eyes wide. What the hell, he's unbelievably strong, they exclaimed in unison, their voices cracking with shock. Before them, on the ground covered in blood and monster corpses, Seo Dojin stood proudly, his sword still stained with blood. The sky darkened. The group members sat around a campfire, exhausted but still keeping a watchful eye on their surroundings. A voice full of surprise rang out. Did you see that Seo Dojin took down the blue croco? In a single hit. Another person sitting nearby spoke up. I can't even count the number of monsters he took down by himself. It's incredible. The long-haired man whispered, this is a secret. But he also took down a cockatrice. The same way. The black-haired man stared, unable to believe his ears. He caught that monster bird too. He's definitely not an ordinary hero. The pretty lady approached and said to the protagonist, Are you done with the blue croco hearts? Seo Dojin pointed towards a box and replied, As you can see. Seeing this, she thought to herself, what is he going to use those hearts for? Then she asked with a curious tone, By the way, what meat are you grilling? It doesn't look like beef at all. Hearing this, the protagonist replied, It's blue crocodile meat. It's edible. Do you want to try some? She was startled. Her face changed color and her eyes widened in amazement. Didn't we bring enough food? Why are we eating this? Hearing that, the protagonist casually ate and added, If you don't want any, then don't. The pretty lady looked on in amazement, but then she picked up her chopsticks intending to try it. Seeing this, Young Inju shouted, Hey Joyun, are you really going to eat that stuff? The pretty lady stared at the piece of meat being pulled from the fire. Then she said, He said it's edible. She put the piece of meat in her mouth and chewed thoughtfully. The meat seemed so delicious that she thought to herself, this is actually pretty good. Young Inju looked at her, then turned to ask the protagonist, Seo Dojun, what's your secret? How did you manage to seduce Joyun? She's so innocent, she's never even had a boyfriend. She's not the type to easily give her heart to a man. Secretly dating. So how? Did you get her to eat that kind of meat? The protagonist's face showed a thoughtful expression as he mumbled, Dating, huh? A flashback appeared. No, it was before that. When I was young in my mid-20s, there was the young lady of the Razulian family, Wenda Razulian, and Lady Mason Green of the Green Earldom, and finally my last hope, in a world. In ruins, Veronica. Young Inju, seeing the protagonist spacing out, shouted, Hey, are you listening to me? I'm asking what the secret is, the protagonist replied confidently. The flower doesn't seek the bee. After hearing that, Young Inju was stunned and horrified, exclaiming, Oh my God. That's the cheesiest thing I've ever heard in my life. The location changes to another area. São Paulo. Kang Yangpyo held a glass of wine. His secretary stood behind him and said, That's all there is to it, I just can't understand. The operation hasn't even been officially dispatched. But they've already brazenly entered the rift. Kang Yangpyo added, And what's more, Seo Dojun, Young Inju, and the Bidan, Hyang Cosmo Guild all went with him. Are there any profitable monsters near Santarém? The secretary replied, As far as I know, there aren't any. We asked the Brazilians, and the answer we got was that the place is very dangerous. Everything related to that bastard, Seo Dojin, is unpredictable. At the same time, a call came through on the phone. Kang Yangpyo picked up the phone. He said, Oh, Director Hong, what's wrong? The person on the other end of the line replied, Is that Seo Dojin still alive? When are you going to do your job? Kang Yangpyo frowned. Why are you so impatient? Did something happen? The person on the other end said angrily, My father must have seen the news that Dojun is an S rank and told me to bring him home. Oh, so the chairman of T Corporation is involved too. Is that why you're so worried? My dear director. The person on the other end was furious. This is no time for jokes. What are you going to do? He smiled confidently. Seo Dojin will never be able to return from Brazil. Hearing this, the person on the other end of the phone replied cheerfully, I like the sound of that. Kang Yangpyo added, If you understand, then hang up, Director Hong Heju. Then he turned around and continued speaking to his secretary. Contact Takashi's people. Now that I've found a decent partner, I'll have to make sure things aren't disappointing. Tell him that. Seo Dojin walked right into a remote place on his own. So the job will be much easier. The scene shifts to a dense forest where the group is walking. Seo Dojin walked ahead with the pretty lady beside him, looking a bit worried. Are you going into the forest? They say there are dangerous monsters in there. Hearing this, the protagonist turned his head and asked, What kind of monster? The pretty lady broke into a sweat and replied, A lynx. The protagonist added, A lynx, huh? So that thing is here too. The pretty lady asked curiously, Do you know about the lynx? He replied decisively, Of course I do. The pretty lady looked on with a worried expression and muttered, I knew it. The pretty lady handed him a small object and said, I'm not going to stop you, but please wear this. The protagonist was surprised. Huh, what is it? The pretty lady was holding a small object, shaped like an earbud. She looked at him with a serious expression. It's an earplug. If you get mesmerized by the lynx's cry, your mind will be paralyzed. You said you knew, but... Suddenly the protagonist replied, I don't need them. The pretty lady looked at him slightly confused. Huh. Hey, you can't underestimate the lynx. The Hero Association of Brazil warned us to be especially careful with it. After a while of moving, it had gotten dark. The pretty lady was still warning the protagonist, but suddenly the red-eyed lynx monster appeared, creating a sense of extreme danger. Seeing the monster, everyone in the group panicked, their faces filled with fear and astonishment. Everyone froze, their eyes wide and mouths agape in shock. Immediately, Young Inju shouted, her voice trembling, It's the lynx. Everyone cover your ears. Everyone in the group panicked and covered, their ears, their faces filled with fear. The protagonist, however, stood silently, his face calm, looking straight at the lynx. He didn't seem scared at all. Under the dark night sky, with its glowing red eyes, it tilted its head back and howled. The whining sound echoed, causing everyone around to feel a sharp pain in their ears. The pretty lady and everyone else clutched their heads in agony, their faces tense and full of discomfort. In the midst of the chaos, the protagonist stood calmly watching, completely unaffected. His sharp eyes were fixed ahead. The pretty lady thought in surprise, why isn't he affected by that howl? The protagonist bent down, picked up a stone, and a blazing red flame erupted, covering his hand. He threw the flame, shooting it straight ahead. Under the full moon, the lynx continued to howl fiercely. Right after that, it quickly dodged his last attack. Seeing this, the protagonist also burst into speed to chase after it. Young Inju ran after him, worriedly panting as she asked, What just happened? The pretty lady replied, I don't know. But the lynx's howl has stopped. Suddenly, the protagonist stopped and stood face to face with a pack of lynxes with fierce eyes. One of them stared straight at the pretty lady. It seemed like in its eyes there was some kind of mystical power that made her break out in a sweat. She froze. This isn't a howl. The thing that mesmerizes your mind is the gaze of this lynx. She jumped slightly, a glowing red light still reflected in her eyes. He tilted his head and said quietly, Close your eyes for a moment. At the same time, his other hand tightened its grip on the hilt of his weapon, ready to face the approaching threat. A fierce flame erupted around the sword in the protagonist's hand, creating a blazing red-orange light that radiated intense heat. He observed and thought to himself, This is probably the limit of my current power. Immediately after, he swung the flaming blade, drawing a brilliant arc in the night sky, creating floating orbs of fire shaped like animal heads. He stood proudly, his eyes glowing, his hair flying his presence like a god of war. His voice echoed as he called out the name of the technique, Bento Swordsmanship. First form Culita Milagros Circle. A blazing red orb of fire appeared at the tip of his sword, aimed at the pack of lynxes, causing them to flinch in fear. His two teammates witnessed the scene in amazement. The short-haired one exclaimed, What the hell? The long-haired one said worriedly, This looks dangerous. Without wasting any time, the protagonist unleashed a powerful slash. A massive stream of fire exploded into a column of red light, tearing through space, engulfing a large section of the forest. The blazing light took over, the silhouettes of the wolves swallowed by the sea of fire, leaving only their faint outlines, amidst the burning maelstrom. The pretty lady and her teammates retreated cautiously, their faces tense, as they witnessed such terrifying power. The pretty lady stood frozen, her eyes wide with astonishment at the power she had just witnessed. 1 month later, the scene before them was a torn-apart landscape, scorched with ash still lingering in the air. The protagonist stood in the middle, his flaming sword still in hand. On the ground, the lynxes lay motionless, their bodies scorched and smoking, proof that they had been completely defeated. The pretty lady exclaimed in shock, almost unable to believe her eyes. No way! Just then, in the sea of fire, one remaining lynx, severely injured, still tried to get up, its body trembling. The sound of slow footsteps echoed. The protagonist approached. The lynx raised its head, its glowing red eyes flashing, as if gathering its last bit of strength to fight back. He immediately struck a finishing blow through its throat. Blood gushed out as he added, These eyes still seem useful. He bent down without hesitation, reached in and plucked out its glowing red eyeball, then said, Take these eyes with you to hell. Scene changed to a moment later. The protagonist walked through the gloomy forest. Prying, scrutinizing eyes, mixed with caution, were all directed at him. Among them, the pretty lady looked at him with joyful eyes, a slight smile playing on her lips. Someone watching the protagonist whispered, Is he even stronger than the monsters? Another person frowned, their voice full of doubt. Maybe his strength is already on par with Cain, the Blood Demon King. All eyes were once again on the protagonist, comparing his strength to those who were once considered legends. The air was thick with tension and curiosity, wrapping itself around the night sky. Suddenly, from the darkness, monsters emerged from under the water. A horde of hideously shaped monsters with grayish skin and jagged fangs appeared, screaming and charging forward. Their sharp claws tore at the ground. A swarm of undead came rushing in. The heroes, seeing this, exclaimed, "They're completely fearless. Truly a bunch of brainless zombies." But as the monster horde roared and charged, one lunged straight at the protagonist. But in a flash, his fist smashed straight into its face, shattering its skull. Blood splattered everywhere. He immediately spun around, killing all the monsters in a single moment. The scene was chaotic. The roars of the monsters, the sound of breaking bones and flesh, all mixed with the chilling howl of the wind. The protagonist landed and spun around, his eyes cold after defeating the swarm of undead. The shocking sound left the group of heroes behind him stunned, their eyes wide with astonishment at his terrifying power. They still couldn't get used to that kind of strength. The protagonist continued to walk, each footstep echoing in the silent space. Behind him, the pretty lady followed, her eyes still watching him with curiosity. Finally, she spoke up, "The swordsmanship? And where did you learn that swordsmanship? I saw fire flash when you struck. Can you teach me? I want to learn swordsmanship like you too." The protagonist paused, his eyes momentarily darkening. He didn't answer right away, then said, "You want to learn? If you start now, when will you ever be able to use it?" After saying that, the protagonist thought to himself, in a peaceful world like this, that kind of thing isn't necessary. The pretty lady thought to herself, "I'm an S-rank hero too. Don't underestimate me so much." Then she bit her lip, her voice slightly resentful. "Well, at least before I die, I can fight one last time, right? Or do you just not want to teach me?" He was silent for a moment, his gaze distant. She frowned, trying to hide her feelings, but felt a bit disappointed inside. "Okay, fine, if you don't want to, I won't force you." Young Inju observed and thought to herself, "These two really don't give a damn about anyone else." Then Young Inju shouted, "All right, get ready to move out." "It's almost time." Everyone nodded in agreement, the atmosphere tense, with anticipation for what lay ahead. The group arrived in front of a rift, a pitch-black space, surrounded by eerie purple sparks of light. Young Inju looked at the rift and thought, "If we don't want to die, the only way is to go in. One wrong move and we're dead for sure." But just then, a deep, rough voice echoed from the distance. "Kill him. You think you can stop me?" That voice made Young Inju immediately turn around and think, that voice, there's no mistaking it. Meanwhile, the pretty lady was pressed tightly against the protagonist, causing her face to flush with embarrassment. A group of people emerged from the darkness, led by a tall man, with a gaunt face, earrings, sharp eyes, and an arrogant demeanor. He is Ryoma Takashi, an S-rank hero with a Yakuza background, and the leader of the Teikoku Guild. Behind him was a whole troop of underlings, each one looking aggressive. Ryoma Takashi stepped forward, his voice deep and hoarse but full of provocation. "Today I'll give you all a fun little memory, to take to your graves right here." His eyes flashed with a murderous red glint. He leaned down close to the protagonist, his voice like a growl. "Before you can even cry, I'll crush this pathetic life of yours. Die." Seeing this, the protagonist turned to the pretty lady and said, "Why is there so much hatred in his eyes?" The pretty lady whispered in surprise, "You understand Japanese?" The protagonist glanced over and replied calmly, "A little, not perfectly, but enough to know what he wants." Ryoma frowned, staring at him and roaring, "What the hell are you mumbling about, you bastard?" A powerful killing intent erupted from him, making the surrounding atmosphere feel like it was about to explode. His underlings behind him shouted a warning. "How dare you be disrespectful to the boss? Get on your knees and apologize now, or you'll die a horrible death." The blonde-haired one added, "Shut up. How dare you talk so much in front of the boss?" The protagonist's face darkened as he warned him, "I don't care, get lost." Ryoma stood proudly holding a giant weapon, his presence overflowing with killing intent. Young Inju stood behind, looking at the scene before her and thinking, "That's Ryoma Takashi, the leader of the Teikoku Guild, one of the top 5 most powerful forces in Japan. He originally came from the Yakuza, famous for his aggressive and brutal nature, no different from a wild beast. Even Dojin should stay away from him." In the midst of the tense situation, Young Inju tried to de-escalate. "Please, let's all just calm down a bit." But Ryoma's underlings behind him had already lost control, yelling, "This is no place for a bitch like you." Young Inju's eyes widened in surprise, then she asked angrily, "A bitch?" Her teammate from behind shouted, "What did you just say, you little punk?" The long-haired one added, "Did you just insult our guildmaster, you bastard?" In the tense situation, Young Inju shouted, "Everyone shut up." Then she turned to him and said, "I am the guildmaster of Korea's Night Sea Guild. Until now, both sides have always maintained their distance and mutual respect. There's no reason for things to turn out like this today." But Ryoma smirked, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "A no-name guild is trying to lecture me. How pathetic." Just then he suddenly raised his hand and grabbed the pretty lady standing next to the protagonist, pulling her forcefully towards him. The sudden move left everyone around stunned. The protagonist gently pulled the pretty lady behind him, standing in front to protect her from him. Suddenly, he slapped the protagonist hard across the face and said, "Move!" An extremely powerful slap echoed, making the air vibrate. But Ryoma just laughed contemptuously, his voice full of mockery. "You're a little interesting. I'm going to kill you, so get ready." The protagonist thought calmly, "You came here looking for a fight with me. So it was all planned beforehand, fine." As soon as the thought finished, he hit him in the face, sending him flying backward, shocking his underlings. Their jaws dropped. He raised his fist and said, "Everyone step back a little. This is just justifiable self-defense." As the underlings prepared to attack, a voice rang out. "A one-on-one fight between strong men. Small fry like you are thinking of interfering, all of you back off." As he finished speaking, his muscles bulged, his entire body radiating killing intent. His eyes were cold and sharp. On the other side, the pretty lady looked at the protagonist and thought worriedly, "Dojin, please just beat him half to death, okay?" A smack sound rang out, startling the hero, who looked up. The pretty lady gave the cold smile. Young Inju also gaped as she watched. At that moment, the protagonist shot down like an arrow, channeling all his force to stomp straight on Ryoma's head. The ground cracked. Ryoma screamed in pain. As soon as he regained his composure, he jumped back, flying backward, clutching his face and thinking, "What the fuck? How is he so strong? What the hell is this guy? This strength isn't what I heard. At this rate, I'm going to die." A vertical blue light appeared behind him. He spun around and ran for his life, screaming frantically. In a flash, the protagonist appeared in front of him. "Someone paid you to come and mess with me, didn't they? Anyway, I can already guess who it is." The man screamed in terror, "Help!" He put his hand on the man's head, his voice indifferent. "Help you in your dreams." Smack, smack, echoed as he slapped the man's face like a child. Right after that, he raised his hand and punched him straight in the face. This made the watching crowd worry for the Japanese guy. Young Inju wondered, "I hope he wins too. But isn't this a little too one-sided?" From one side, seeing the protagonist stepping on his head, Young Inju grabbed the pretty lady and said, "He's going to kill him. Joyun, you should stop him." Hearing this, the pretty lady reached out to the protagonist and said, "Dojun, that's enough. You're really going to kill him." He looked up, his voice calm. "I'll take responsibility." She frowned, took his hand and pulled him away, saying, "What do you mean, take responsibility? Don't do things that you'll have to take responsibility for." The protagonist replied to her, "I've met a lot of scum like him. It's better to just kill them and be done with it." She tugged at his sleeve, her voice low but firm. "It's not worth you suffering for his kind, Dojun." "Stop!" the pretty lady added. "They've learned their lesson." Young Inju spun around to face the remaining underlings and yelled, "If you don't want to end up like him, then answer properly. Don't mess with us again." The guys trembled and nodded repeatedly. "Yes," Dojin smirked, just kneeling. "All of you face down on the ground." They slammed their foreheads on the ground and replied, "Yes, sir," he said coldly. "You Yakuza. Punish failure by cutting off your own fingers, right?" They all trembled and begged. "Please spare us," Dojun said slowly. "You all say, 'I'm sorry for being scum, and I'll let you go.'" One of them gritted his teeth. For being scum?" "I'm sorry." Seeing this, Young Inju and the heroes next to her had the corners of their mouths twitch up in a faint, awkward smile. The beaten-up Ryoma lay on the ground, muttering bitterly to himself, "Damn it." Scene changes to Sao Paulo, Brazil. In a high-rise office, the man with the goatee put down a stack of files, glanced over the report, then looked up as he saw the pretty lady and Young Inju walk in. He thought to himself, "Am I supposed to believe this? S-rank hero. Takashi was beaten so badly he can't recover. And you're saying only one person did it. The only one injured was Takashi. So it's hard not to believe, but it's hard to accept. I was hoping that Korea and Japan would join forces to close the rift." Then he added, "According to the report, there's no reason for the Brazilian Association to intervene. Yes, I'll forward this case to the Korean and Japanese Hero Associations. Accept your punishment from them." Young Inju replied, "Yes." He continued, "And you said you went to the rift near Santarem. Nothing unusual, I hope." "Yes." Young Inju replied, "Yes, everything was normal." He relaxed and said, "I see. By the way, that Dojun who's mentioned the most in the report, why isn't he here?" Young Inju said nervously. "Ah, well." Seeing her hesitation, the pretty lady spoke up for her. "Oh, well, he went to settle some scores." He asked, confused, "Settle the score?" Cut to the hospital ward 3. A faint groan could be heard. Ryoma's bloodshot eyes flew open. Dojin appeared with a bouquet in his hand. He leaned down, looked at him and said, "Don't move. Officially, I'm here to visit a patient." He took out the lynx's eye and shone it on the man. Then he said, "Now tell me who's behind this incident." But the man just whispered, because an insect like me, I've caused trouble for the members of the Korean Association." Not hearing what he wanted, the main character left, leaving him still muttering, "The Draculas are scum. The Draculas are scum." Out in the hallway, Dojin walked away, his knuckles clenched tight. The rumor of the confrontation between the Korean and Japanese heroes spread quickly. The press was flooded with photos and articles of the main character wiping the floor with the Japanese. In an office at dusk, the old chairman looked at his tablet and mumbled, "This has completely hogged the domestic spotlight." Min Hongji, wearing glasses and sitting opposite him, replied, "It's certainly explosive. News about Hero Seo Dojin is on air every single day. Is it true that the Japanese Hero Association has dropped the investigation?" The old chairman looked at the screen and said, "I heard the victim Ryoma Takashi returned to his country on his own." Min Hongji paused, not understanding why. That guy usually stirs up trouble at any given chance, but this time he retreated quietly. No one could guess the hidden meaning behind it. The atmosphere in the room grew heavier as the news continued to pour in. He lifted his teacup, his voice low. "I have a feeling the chessboard of the world's heroes is about to shift." His eyes narrowed. "It seems the Japanese have a big enough reason to avoid this incident." Min Hongji, slightly startled, asked, "What do you mean, sir?" He just chuckled softly. "I don't know." Then he looked up and concluded, "Before long, everything will revolve around Hero Dojin." The night before departure, and everyone understood that the central figure of the story was none other than Seo Dojin. One night at a hotel with only 1 day left before the operation. The Korean heroes had arrived early to get familiar with the site and meet heroes from all over the world. They trained in the gym, exchanged experiences, agreed on coordination methods, and shared their final battle plans. In the noisy banquet hall, everyone coming and going was whispering about the same thing, and it all revolved around the main character. Young Inju smiled cheerfully. "You're not listening to me at all. The rumor about Dojun stomping on Ryoma Takasaki has already spread worldwide. So, everyone who comes by is talking about it. And yet he doesn't show any arrogance at all. It's truly respectable. Compared to him, I just look like an ordinary person, not like a hero at all." Right next to her was the beautiful woman. Her face showed neither joy nor sadness, only a hint of melancholy. Young Inju glanced at her and thought, "She's not listening to me at all." But that makes sense. How could anyone be happy witnessing this scene? Dojin stood among the guests, the party lights reflecting off his calm features. Next to him was a woman with long pink hair and a confident smile. She is Gloria Tyler, an S-rank hero from the United States, and #1 in the world in the Hero Visuals poll, so the beauty is just jealous everyone. She looks pretty cute, though. Suddenly her friend slapped her on the shoulder and yelled, "Don't just mope around. Are you really going to sit still now? Come on." The beautiful woman was startled. What am I supposed to do?" Suddenly the main character looked over at them. Even though the beautiful woman is also an S-rank beauty from Korea, she can still have an awkward moment like this. She's so different from the first few chapters. When the main character's gaze met hers, she shyly looked down, her face blushing. Seeing this, the main character gave a slight smile. As if understanding the situation, Gloria Tyler waved goodbye and left. "I enjoyed our conversation. See you later, Kaisel." The beautiful woman walked up to Dojun and asked with a cool expression, "Who's Kaisel?" The main character casually replied, "That's me." She asked, surprised, "You have an English name, too." Dojun was silent. Then Dojun answered to the beautiful woman, "It's the name I used even before Dojun." She blinked, thinking to herself, could it be that he lived abroad before I checked his records and didn't see anything like that? Why wouldn't he tell me? She puffed out her cheeks with a slight huff. From a corner of the room, Kang Yongpyo, holding a glass of wine, observed quietly and mumbled, "That Ryoma guy. Looks like I'll have to step in after all." Suddenly the beautiful woman's voice rang out. "Be careful, Dojin. I know you're strong, but they won't play fair. There are a few people who are very close to Ryoma." Notably, before she could finish, the main character cut in. "That's enough." She looked up, surprised. "What do you mean, enough? You should at least know who they are." But Dojin looked out at the hall and replied softly, "People of that caliber won't be a problem." He turned back with a calm smile. "Not a single one." His words were like daggers aimed right at Kang Yongpyo. Hearing it, his entire body trembled with rage. He shot a sharp glare at the main character as if waiting for an opportunity. But he just gave a contemptuous smile, which only infuriated him more. He thought, "This son of a bitch, I'll end you with my own hands." Scene changed to the rift area near Santarem. The crescent moon hung high. Young Inju murmured, "This is the first time I've seen one in person. The entrance to the rift is this big." The long-haired man laughed eagerly. "They've already assigned 2 S-rank heroes? We'll just go in and clean up later." Young Inju glanced at the portal and replied, "Yeah, everything will be fine." Then she turned and shouted, "The whole team move in!" A chorus of Roger replied. The hero team quickly advanced towards the portal's opening, a clearing in the middle of the forest. The beautiful woman looked at the main character's face, paused, and asked quietly, "What's wrong?" He replied worriedly, "Don't you feel it?" The beautiful woman answered nonchalantly, "Feel what?" She turned to Young Inju and asked, "Do you feel anything?" Young Inju suddenly stiffened. "I don't feel anything." The main character was at a loss for words, then added, "The mana density is increasing." The group of heroes approached the edge of the portal. An alarm bell beeped. The device's screen flashed red, showing a reading of 23.31%. The air immediately became as heavy as lead. Somewhere the unknown hero killer looked at his phone and said, "It'll reach 30% soon. It won't be long now." Those insects! It would be so convenient if they died from this. Back with the main characters group, a long-haired man felt uneasy and said, "Suddenly my body feels heavy and sore." The short-haired man added, "I feel suffocated and it's hard to breathe." The main character stood tall, thinking to himself, "The mana here is completely different. The concentration is even denser than in the Patia forest." The beautiful woman looked at the main character's expression and thought, "This is the first time I've seen him so tense. There must be something here." Young Inju gestured her voice low. "Everyone stay calm." She looked around, analyzing. This might be a characteristic of this rift. Since our bodies are heavier than usual, it's beneficial to be on high alert. She turned back to instruct Dojin, "You protect the formation." "You too, Dojin." The beauty replied softly, "Okay." The main character nodded in reply, "Got it." Her voice continued firmly, "Until we find the reason for the change in mana density. The priority objective is to close the rift. Everyone stay alert." She lowered her hand and commanded, "Move out." The team replied, "Yes, ma'am," and immediately advanced. The formation tightened and everyone watched intently. 3. When Dojun entered the Santarém rift, Santarém, nestled among the familiar names of Portugal. The river winds its way like a green vein on old paper. To the north, Brazil's Manaus. The largest city in the rift region is where the French, Korean, and Brazilian teams were simultaneously dispatched. 4. In the deep blue night, in another forest, a support team was attacked by something so fast they couldn't react. The dense buzzing of wings descended. A swarm of giant red-eyed insects fell from the sky. The buzzing sound tightened the air. A massive one closed in, its head covered in bristling white fur. Killer bee, a flying-type monster, a type of hornet. A hunter stammered in panic. "Impossible! Even a C-rank hero should be able to hunt this type." A scream tore through the night. Even A-rank heroes were being defeated one-sidedly. From above, the swarm of giant bees swirled down again, the buzzing of their wings dense. He immediately threw a punch at it, knocking it backward. But it seemed to have no effect on the monster. The man gritted his teeth. "Damn it, my body is so heavy. Normally it should have exploded into pieces. How many people will survive this?" A streak of cold, bright slash cut through the wind. Back with the main characters group. A large blade slammed down, cutting across the ground. Dirt and rocks flew. From the shadows of the trees, muscular orcs with glowing red eyes and white fangs flashing in the moonlight approached growling. Their thick armor of flesh was almost impervious to heavy blows. The long-haired man paused, breathing heavily. "This is strange. Why are the black orcs this strong?" Young Inju stared intently, silently, clenching her jaw, her gaze darkening. At the front line, 2 accompanying heroes teamed up and charged forward to attack. Energy gathered in his arm, a bright blue streak cutting through the wind. He brought his attack down on the charging orc. The sound of the impact was deafening, but the black orc only flinched. The mark of the attack was seared onto its forehead, letting off a thin wisp of smoke, and then it bared its fangs in a grin, one red eye glinting under the moon. It let out a roar, rolled its shoulder, and lunged forward like a wild beast about to strike. Just as the axe was about to swing across, the beautiful woman shot forward like an arrow, pulling the 2 of them back. The long-haired man's voice trembled as he gasped, "Thanks." She glanced at them and snapped, "Don't approach so carelessly." With that said, she pushed off the ground, instantly rocketing forward to charge straight at the orc that was advancing. The beautiful woman slid in front of the orc, a burly one swinging a battle axe. A purple glow erupted from her hands as she slid past each one. Then she delivered a kick to the nape of an orc's neck before it could react. Just as it turned to counterattack her with a single fluid motion, the beautiful woman was already in midair, her leg raised, delivering a powerful kick down onto the monster's head. Another one at that moment swung a great axe down from the side. But as soon as it made contact, it realized the thing it had struck was one of its own kind. Its face broke out in a sweat. Before it could regain its senses, she was already behind it, delivering another kick that sent it collapsing to the ground. Watching the scene, the hunters standing behind swallowed hard. One of them breathed, "Dojin is so insanely strong that I completely forgot." Another one concluded, his eyes shining, as expected of S-rank level. So strong. The orc threw its head back and roared, charging like a cannonball. But a figure flashed by. A lightning-fast punch landed squarely on its face, stopping its body in its tracks before it collapsed with a thud. The main character landed in front of the team, his breathing still even while the orc's corpse twitched on the ground. Young Inju glanced around and swallowed hard. This level of difficulty right at the start of the rift, even with the two of them clearing, this place won't be easy. Over by the monster's corpse, the beautiful woman approached and asked, "What are you looking at?" The main character crouched down and pointed at the monster's flesh. "Here, do you see something like a black ripple here?" She squinted. "A ripple," the main character said quietly. "You have to focus to see it." Black streaks like underground streams spread beneath the orc's skin. She whispered, "What is this?" The main character concluded, "This is why they suddenly got stronger." Then he thought to himself, "Why is there dark mana here?" 4. The team looked at each other in silence. The forest wind blew through the clearing where the two orc corpses lay motionless. A sense of unease gradually settled over the night. This series is scheduled to take a 1-week break every 3 weeks, but I still saw a new chapter this week. So in the following weeks, if there's a new chapter, I'll post it regularly on Tuesday or Wednesday. All right, everyone. Thank you all, and I hope you enjoy the show. 4. A night in the silent valley, the sky full of stars. A rustling sound came from among the leaves. From the darkness, a monstrous mud creature with sharp horns emerged. Its red eyes blazed as it opened multiple mouths filled with black teeth and roared. A man charged forward, swinging his sword in a diagonal slash. The white gleam of the blade tore through the night. The slimy body was split in two, but in just an instant, it reformed as if it had never been parted. Suddenly, it lunged forward to attack, but the hero dodged it and clicked his tongue. Just then, the long-haired man and the shield-bearer advanced. He leaped high, his weapon spinning in his hand. The whirling energy formed a circle as he slashed down, but it had no effect on the mud monster. Seeing this, the shield-bearer exclaimed, "This is unbelievable." The long-haired man glanced quickly, breathing hard. "They're strong, unimaginably strong." The black mud erupted again like a crashing wave. Both of them were caught in the viscous mud and thrown to the ground. The long-haired man jumped up, planted the hilt of his weapon into the ground, and spun around. The shield-bearer looked at the gash in his armor, his voice heavy. "Their attacks can even tear through our equipment. Fighting them is really too dangerous." On the other side, a teammate snapped amidst the slimy sounds. "What the hell is going on here?" The swarm of mud monsters rushed forward, their bony fangs jagged. One lunged to bite a hero, but just then, young Inju ran in and delivered a punch, shattering a portion of its body. At the same time over with, the long-haired man and the shield-bearer, they were screaming, as the monster opened its gaping mouth and charged. Slash, slash. Like slashes of light illuminating the area, young Inju's attacks cut through the dark night. She gritted her teeth, shuddering slightly as she thought, if the swamp demons are already this terrifying, then Velkera must be even more frightening. Brazil. Could this be spreading all over the world? Cut to the rift area near Manaus. A waterfall roared in the blue night. A figure dashed through the wind. "They're all dead. Even Arvado from Brazil." His voice choked, sweat pouring down his face. "Is dead. They're all dead. David from France, too." Just because of a few Velkeras. The scene shifts to the beautiful woman. She clenched her fists. "Velkera?" The main character nonchalantly threw a punch as if it were nothing right into the swarm of monsters, causing its body to shatter into many pieces. Then he turned his head and replied, "That's right." His voice was low. "Velkera has also been infected with dark mana, so we must be extremely careful." The beautiful woman was puzzled and asked, "Dark mana? Is that the pitch-black aura surrounding the black orcs? Right? Just like the thing enveloping the swamp demons now. Does it make them stronger?" Hearing this, he replied, "Exactly, and avoid letting it touch you. Think of it as concentrated mana being infused into the body." She asked again while attacking, "Mana like using magic in a game." Hearing this, the main character was stunned into silence. He didn't say anything more, which annoyed her, and she said loudly, "What do you mean by that? Does something called mana really exist in this world?" He bowed his head and began to explain. "The biggest difference between heroes and ordinary people is mana." Instantly, the monster's gaping black mouth roared and was then slammed down by a massive force. Boom! A plume of white dust rose and the aftershock swept through. The force of the impact crushed the monster. The main character clenched his fist, thinking, a world that doesn't know the concept of mana? His gaze softened. It's really peaceful, isn't it? Right after a swarm of black mud monsters erupted from below. He finished his thought, but that peace won't last much longer. The main character's shoulder muscles tensed. His fists clenched tight. His golden eyes flashed. One punch blew a hole through the monster. After smashing two of them into pulp, he stomped his foot to finish off the last one. His heel crushed the ground. The main character's figure stood tall, the mud exploding outwards in long streaks. But from a distance, the two companions turned to look. One gave a forced smile, wiping away sweat. The other was still stunned. The beautiful woman walked up beside him and asked, "By the way, that mana thing, especially the dark mana, that's what's making the monsters so much stronger, right?" The main character turned his head and nodded. "Yeah, it's like an athlete injected with a super strong dose of doping." She seemed to understand and replied immediately, "Ah, I see. But how do you know so much about it?" The main character looked at her and added, "It's strange that you don't." The dangerous path through the demon-infested swamp. Ahead is the area marked as the Velkara's extremely dangerous spawning point. On the map, a winding path led to a red X. The team automatically slowed down. They quietly entered the swamp forest. Young Inju, leading the way, suddenly stopped and raised her hand in a signal. "Stop." White webs were strung everywhere. The bodies of people and monsters were wrapped in cocoons, dangling from the branches. She looked around, her voice low. "Just as Dojun said, these are Velkara's food cocoons. Be careful, there might be a Velkara nearby." The main character stepped forward to take the lead and said no. The team stood waiting, looking at him expectantly. The main character raised his hand. A flame ignited on his hand as he replied, "This is the real danger zone." "Good thing we found it early." Seeing the flame ignite on his hand, Young Inju blurted out, "Dojun, are you a mage?" Then she wondered, "This place is dangerous." "These cocoons." The main character swung his hand and the flame shot out like a cannonball. Boom, boom. The cocoons were set ablaze. The blazing fire in the night sky lit up the entire forest. The main character's voice rang out explaining, "Velkara has absorbed dark mana. If not, they wouldn't be using these cocoons as pawns. If we don't deal with them soon, we'll be surrounded and killed instantly. Now we just need to catch Velkara." The fire exploded like a storm. Flashes of fire swept across. The heat hissed, burning the cocoons hanging in the forest. Amidst the ashes, he stood tall, his eyes as cold as the night water. "Velkara, reinforced by dark magic, is pulling their strings like puppets. If we don't take them down now, we'll be surrounded and wiped out in an instant. All that's left for us is to take down Velkara." The rest of the team stood behind, silenced by the firelight. Young Inju swallowed hard, thinking, "It's his first time here, but it's like he already knows everything." The others looked on. "The more I observe him, the more unusual he seems. I thought he was just strong, but at this level it's basically cheating." The beautiful woman stepped up and grabbed his collar, pulling him closer. Her eyes shone as she questioned him. "Be honest, is this your second life or something?" He paused for a beat. Second life. A flash of a past memory crossed his mind. His back was straight as a sword. A slight smile played on his lips. His gaze softened as he thought to himself, "Second life, huh? You could say that." Then he asked curtly, "How far are we from the rift's core?" Young Inju replied, "We just need to cross the forest ahead, and we'll be halfway there." Hearing this, the main character asked, "Halfway, huh?" He looked at the dying flames, his voice firm. "We're clearing this place out tonight." The beautiful woman and Young Inju heard him and paused slightly, glancing over at the exhausted team. Sweat beaded on their foreheads. "Maybe for you, but the rest of us can hardly take it." They were already exhausted in the swamp. A few men were silent. Their shoulders slumped, their breathing ragged. He glanced around and nodded slightly. "All right, everyone, rest here. I'll go deal with Velkara and be right back." Before anyone could stop him, he leaned forward and dashed off his hood, whipping in the wind. The ground shook with each footstep. His shadow stretched into a long streak, a white blur tearing through the air. The howling wind echoed in a low drone among the trees. Canopy. But those left behind were stunned. One man was speechless. "What the hell?" Young Inju added. "How does he still have so much energy?" They watched him go, only catching a glimpse of the forest path ahead being cut into a corridor, straightened by his trajectory, like a sharp brushstroke cutting through the darkness. His eyes narrowed, his pupils darting everywhere, searching. Among the blurry black tree trunks, a pitch-black spider with glaring red eyes. He braked slightly, tilting his head. The corner of his mouth lifted. "Found you." Just then, he bent his knees and leaped high, raising his sword to strike down. But it let out an ear-splitting screech. Its abdomen swelled and thick webs shot out like rain. Then the main character sped up, running quickly away from the attack. He landed right at the edge of the web, his wrist twisting. The blade swept in a bright circle. 2 streaks of light cut vertically and horizontally. Slash, slash. The crisp sound of steel echoed in the damp forest. The spider was sliced into pieces and fell to the ground with a thud. He let out a soft breath. His hand opened in the damp forest light. A thought passed through his mind like a cool stream. Perhaps because I've absorbed dark magic with the magic heart technique. That's why I don't feel tired at all. His footsteps led him back to where the heroes were resting. Seeing the main character return so quickly, their faces were still filled with shock. They looked at him in silence, not knowing what to say first. The beautiful woman swallowed as if she couldn't believe her own eyes. "I can't believe he defeated Velkara alone. It's incredible." Young Inju nodded. "That's right. and he doesn't look tired at all. He stood there, his breathing even, and looked at them, saying concisely, "I don't think there are any monsters left in the forest. Let's rest for a bit." A while later, the campfire flickered brightly. Fat from the meat sizzled on the skewers. The fragrant smoke mingled with the night dew. Everyone sat down, relaxing their shoulders. The main character nodded and handed him a skewer. The man was delighted. "Thanks." Then the one sitting next to him complained but was still curious. "Hey, why do you suddenly want to eat that?" The long-haired man sniffed, laughed, and glanced at him. Who knows? Maybe this meat is the secret to his strength. That sounded plausible, so the man stood up awkwardly. Can I try some too? Will it really work? The long-haired man reassured him, whatever, it's worth a try. It's not like it'll kill us. Right after the long-haired man ate voraciously. The main character observed them silently, thinking nonchalantly, that meat does nothing but fill your stomach. It has no other effect. But I don't dislike someone who craves strength this much. Consider it a small gift. He twirled his fingertips slightly. A thin mist-like energy flowed into the two men's bodies. The long-haired man took the first bite and suddenly exclaimed, his eyes brightening, "Whoa, I feel a surge of power." The man next to him was also shocked. "You feel it too?" They looked at each other, as if fire had just been poured into their veins. As for him, he just gave a very slight smile, his eyes already focused on the deep forest ahead. 4. When the cheerful laughter subsided, young Inju pointed to a black circle on the map, her voice low and steady. "The core of the rift is about as far as the distance we've already traveled. But everyone is exhausted, so we'll go back and rest. We'll try again tomorrow." Then Seo Dojin said to clear it all out today, but my backpack is already full. What do you think? The main character turned to the beautiful woman and asked, "Do you agree with that plan?" She nodded slightly, then shook her head, her voice low. "It would be a lie to say I'm not tired. Besides, the monsters are getting stronger because of the dark magic." He rested his hand on the map. A thought crossed his mind. The original plan was to delay clearing the rift for as long as possible, to gather as many exclusive materials from Brazil as possible, like the crocodile heart. But the appearance of dark magic has created a new variable, and variables are never a good sign. He raised a hand. "Something's not right with this dark mana." The backpack opened, and red crystal fragments rolled onto the wooden table. "Take these and head back to the hotel first." They stared at the main character with wide eyes, but he had already turned his back to the forest's shadows. The corner of his lip curled up ever so slightly. "I'll close the rift and be back later." The green light of the forest night washed over his cheekbones. His back was ramrod straight. He walked away from the campfire in silence, like a concise promise, binding the entire team to safety, introducing a new and extremely good series to everyone. The main character is a blacksmith. His family's forge was burned down in a fire. After that, his father fell into a coma and is being treated in a hospital, costing an enormous amount of money. His own body was severely burned, and his weakened hands could no longer do anything. Fate leads him to a virtual reality game, where his body and everything else return to him. And from a level 1 blacksmith at the start of the game, the main character forged an epic-grade sword. As the forest wind kicked up the musty smell, the ground began to boil. A black mud monster rose up, growling like iron scraping on stone. At the same time, the main character dashed diagonally his toes, touching the ground for a beat before launching himself forward. The mud monsters behind him opened more jagged mouths. Their teeth swirled like a cold wave. His eyes narrowed. His pupils flashed as his wrist spun, a circle, the blade weaving a series of crisscrossing streaks of light. The sound of slashing was crisp. Each mudhead was lopped off and fell with a plop. He landed sliding on the grass and reached his hand into the monster's corpse, ripping out the solid core from the center of its body, revealing a brightly glowing red crystal that was pulsing with light. Black slime dripped through his fingers. The night forest returned to the murmuring of the wind, as if nothing had ever happened. The hero team walked through the night, their footsteps rustling on the wet carpet of leaves. Young Inju glanced at the star-dusted sky and asked softly, "Will he be okay, his fight?" Hearing this, the beautiful woman replied in a calm voice, "I saw him. After a quick farewell, he shot off like a bullet. He still has plenty of energy left." Young Inju tilted her head, looking at the beautiful woman's slightly somber face. "But look at your face. Are you worried about him?" Hitting a nerve, the beautiful woman sniffed. "Worried? Why would I be?" Then she thought to herself, "It's just embarrassing to be called the same rank S-rank as him." She sighed internally. It's hard to find someone like him among the S-ranks, all over the world. While they were talking, the main character had already leaped above the canopy, his blade held upright, catching the moonlight. The shadow of an orc monster with glowing red fangs charged at him. The blade cut through the wind. He twisted at the hip, the body of the blade sweeping in a long streak of light. The slash came down like a dry thunderclap, a single clean cut cleaving the monster's head. Black blood sprayed in an arc. He landed and let out a soft breath. The sound of heavy footsteps approached. Then a great axe slammed into the ground in front of him, causing it to crack. At the same time, a streak of golden light erupted like a fire dragon, circling from the main character's hand. A stream of fireballs shot towards the monsters. Boom, boom! A wall of fire washed over them, swallowing their roars. Their gray bodies were blown back, their flesh scorched and cracked. The fire blazed like a windstorm over a dry field. The flames died down. The giant bodies lay sprawled like freshly felled tree stumps. White smoke still seeped from the mouths of the wounds. He stood in the midst of the corpses, a stone axe lying discarded beside him. The night sky above was sprinkled with stars. The crackling sound slowly faded among the leaves. He bent down, reached a hand into one of their chests, and pulled out a glowing red crystal, still tainted with a wisp of black smoke. Cut to early the next morning. The beautiful woman's group had left the country, their backpacks heavy. They walked quickly towards the encampment. Suddenly the ground hissed as a black streak shot past, like an arrow. A dry, thudding sound of blood splattering. Another slash tore through the air. The bird-like black shadows diving down were cut in half, before they could even touch the ground. Black feathers and blood sprayed in long streaks across the young grass. He appeared in the early morning sun, sword raised, still dripping with blood. The metallic smell of iron dissolved in the wind. The main character thrust his hand into the chest of the freshly fallen beast and pulled out a dark purple heart still beating violently. Winding veins crawled over his wrist. He dropped it with a plop into a glass jar and slowly closed the lid. Blood pooled on the grass from the monster's corpse. The main character rummaged around and pulled out several red crystals like glowing embers with faceted edges. Each one crackled and then gathered into a pile. The red light reflected off the canopy. He looked over, thinking to himself that each one dropped a fair amount. The backpack on his back grew heavier. The straps tightened on his shoulders as he walked along the path, sword in hand. In the middle of the day, the lush green forest seemed oblivious to the smell of blood. Morning, scene change. To the control room of the Brazilian Hero Association. The large screen cast a blue glow on the tense faces. An alarm siren blared. Red lights flashed. Several bewildered gazes were fixed on the map, which was flashing warning points repeatedly, as if something had just violently stirred the heart of the forest. The red alarm blared from the control room ceiling. The magnified map flashed around the Santarém point. The warning circles contracted and then went out. An employee leaned in, looking closely at the screen, sweat beading on his temple. He burst out yelling after the red dot disappeared. It's gone. The rift has closed. The whole room erupted in cheers, fists raised high in a moment of celebration. In disbelief, they re-examined the map. The name Santarém flashed in a cold blue. Someone demanded which team was sent there. The answer came after a moment of searching. It was a team from Korea, the Silk Flower Guild. Then a sudden exclamation was heard. Ah, yes, that guild called us 10 minutes ago, saying they were returning. The mustached old man asked again, 10 minutes ago. Hearing this, the employee replied, yes, they said they had just left the rift at that exact time. The mustached old man seemed confused and wondered to himself, then what on earth happened? Cut to 10 minutes earlier, deep in the forest. The ground trembled like a war drum. A giant monster suddenly appeared. Its two heads bared glowing red fangs. Dark energy swirled around it like a poisonous smoke that stung the skin. He glided across the shimmering grass, his eyes scanning the area before concluding, a creature rapidly evolved by dark magic. The ground bounced under the monster's heels as it charged. The whole forest trembled as if being stretched taut. Right at the edge of the foliage, a purple-black vortex pulsated like a pore of the world. He paused for half a beat and silently confirmed, that's the core. Let's end this quickly. His hand tightened on the hilt of his sword, his body low. His shoulders rotated, clearing a path for the steel blade to spring forth. A hoarse roar cut through the air as the ogre charged forward. His pupils dilated. He tilted his head, his breath touching the cold spine of the blade. The veins on the back of his hand stood out in the sun. One heel stomped down hard, his body tearing through the wind. His heartbeat synced with the vibration of the steel, and in the hot wind that had just kicked up, he spoke in a low, decisive voice. Van Dien sword style second form. The blade's light stretched like the edge of dawn, flashing straight towards the core. The streak of light passed through the diving monster, concentrating the entire forest into one decisive slash. Just a little introduction for everyone. A very good series. The main character was severely burned in the real world, and owes a huge sum of money to save his father's life. His life turned a new page when he started playing a VR game, forging an epic-grade sword right in the tutorial phase. I hope you all support it. The story is almost 3 hours long on the channel. Thanks, everyone. Everything settled down, making way for the breath before the battle. He gripped the hilt of his sword. The steel blade blazed as if just pulled from a red-hot forge. The wind drew long streaks across the grassy field. Van Dien sword-style second form. Magic from the grimoire of Grammy. Floriform, a type of magic that spreads out along lines, began to unfold itself. Threads of fire as fine as copper wire coiled around the monster, then shot up into a cutting wall, causing it to roar in agony. The bellowing sound tore through the air. Thick black blood sprayed through its fingers. He stood his ground, his hair flying in the wind, his shoulders rising and falling with his breath, like an unspoken declaration. He tilted his head, the corner of his mouth lifting slightly. Surprised? We're just getting started. The blade flashed brightly. The flames followed the steel's edge, hissing into a halo as thin as a leaf cutting the wind. His arm jerked up. His body slid diagonally, leaving behind the dry crack of the air being split in two. His sword path swept across the monster's flank, leaving a bubbling trail of black blood. It faltered, its mouth gaping in a roar that shattered the air. Thick blood sprayed in a dark streak. Then it swung its fist down. Just then the main character leaped up, raising his sword, his voice cold. "Take this!" The fire sigil activated again. Strokes of golden fire emerged from the sword's edge. Slash, slash. Each blade was like a thorn of the sun emerging from its sheath. A steady hum filled the air as the forest wind was pushed back. Everything around was caught in those attacks. The monster recoiled, its eyes blinded by the intersecting circles of fire. But the ground trembled before it could even take a breath. Then it leaped high into the air, raising its hand to strike down at the main character. But before it could bring its power down, blades of firelight cut across the monster's legs. Dark blood spurted out in a spray. The roar caught in its throat. 1. Slashes rained down like a storm, slicing the monster's body into pieces, which then fell with soft thuds like blocks of tofu. The main character sheathed his sword and let out a light breath. His hand still rested on the hilt, his head tilted, listening to the silence after the firestorm. The ground trembled slightly as if something was opening up beneath the roots. From the forest clearing ahead, black and purple rift swirled into a vortex. The purple light coiled like a blooming wound. He looked up, his shoulders held straight, his eyes focusing on one point as he thought. I'm close to the core, but the concentration of dark magic hasn't changed. If it's not pouring out from the core, could it be from an external source? That means someone caused all this to happen. To fill a rift with that much dark magic, you'd need a Lich King or an Archlich. A misty figure, wearing a red robe and a crown of mist, appeared in his imagination. Its empty eye sockets glowed red like a coal stove. But if they were really here, most of the living beings on Earth would have turned into undead long ago. I can't be sure of anything yet. Regardless if it's an external source, just closing the rift won't end this. He clenched his fist and threw a punch that made the rift distort from the force. Streaks of light cracked and then shattered completely. Shards of purple light scattered like broken glass. Then he spoke to himself. I'll have to follow the trail of this thing. Cut to the Brazilian hero headquarters, cold under the white lights. The man leaned back in his chair. His hand holding a file trembled slightly. The first words that came out were both hoarse and harsh. Yes, regardless of the source. All the reports are unbelievable. The assistant standing opposite him, his back straight as a ruler, his eyes following each page, only replied with a soft yes, sir. On one front, a coordinated tri-nation alliance. In the end, only one S-rank hero survived. Meanwhile, another team not only closed the rift, but all its members returned safely. Breaking news from other rifts also poured in, but most of them recorded team failures, forcing them to retreat. The assistant added, "We will compile everything and submit a full report soon." After hearing this, the director sighed, his hands clasped in front of his mouth as if in prayer. Even though each rift was assigned at least one S-rank hero to guard it, everything still ended up like this. So the only successful team was the Korean team, led by the female hero Jung Inju. Is that right? The assistant looked worried and slowly opened his mouth. Well, to say it was the Korean team wouldn't be entirely accurate. Hearing this, the man replied after a slight pause. What do you mean, did I miss something? Didn't the Korean team that went to Santarém close it? He bent down to flip another page. The light reflected off the edge of the paper. The only sound in the room was the dry, cold rustle of the file, and the heavy breathing of those trying to piece together a picture of a battlefield that was still missing too many pieces. The assistant's voice rang out. The rift closed after they had left from inside. The statement made the director's eyes widen. 3 heavy words fell like stones onto the floor. Unbelievable, then how did it close? He closed the file, looked up, and asked again, "Where is that female hero now?" The assistant replied immediately, "She's on her way back. She's about to arrive at the headquarters." The director shot up from his seat, his chair scraping back. "Go meet her immediately." But from the moment the female hero's team and her comrades stepped out of the rift, it took them about an hour to return to the main base. During that time, he had already closed the first rift, and was setting foot into the second. This rift's core was underwater. He looked at the river's surface, smooth as glass, clenched the hilt of his sword, and nodded slightly. All right, let's go. The water embraced his knees. The lights of the ancient city shimmered on the lake's surface behind him. But in front of him was the deep, dark blue into which he would dive. In the office, the chairman looked at the beautiful woman with suspicion. And you expect me to believe that story? She stood opposite him and replied with firm conviction, if it's him, it's entirely possible. Still in disbelief, he pressed her. You mean to say Hiroseo Dojin closed the rift gate all by himself? She swallowed hard and nodded. That's probably what happened. His face grew grim in the tense room. Then he added, this news is top secret, but S-ranks have been dying left and right in other rifts. She added, her voice shuddering. If Dojun hadn't been there, I would have been a goner too. He sighed, looking exhausted. Ha, truly hard to believe. The monsters were strengthened by this so-called dark mana, and that power surpasses even S-ranks, and Seo Dojin surpassed even that level. Perhaps the dark mana hasn't appeared in the southern region yet. Her face was serious. We can't be careless. The level of danger is on a whole different scale now. There's a difference in the color of the gate entrance. For now, that's the only way to confirm it. He took out his phone and gave an order. Immediately, check all the gates in Brazil. The heavy sound of footsteps echoed. She left the office and took out her phone to call Chairman Natejo. On his end, the beautiful woman's voice came through. It's what we're calling dark mana. Have there been any changes in the Korean region? The old man replied, no reports yet, but keep a close watch. Then she thought to herself, even an S-rank would have trouble handling multiple monsters with dark mana. If a boss monster gets a taste of this, it'll be a complete disaster. Brace yourself. Cut to the main character. At the river island. Rifts like this usually have their cores underwater. Ordinary people can't breathe down there, so heroes who can fight here are as rare as autumn leaves. Iron Looper, New Zealand's national S-rank hero, specializes in underwater combat. He makes a fortune thanks to his unique skill of breathing underwater. In the murky water, he murmured. I can feel it. The dark mana here is much denser. Let's begin. The water's surface was pitch black. So dark, because of the dark mana. The main character focused, calculating. First control buoyancy, next water resistance. Suddenly a hideous fish monster lunged out. The main character looked at it and frowned in annoyance. An Aragon, huh? Looking pretty lively thanks to the dark mana. As soon as it grabbed his body, without hesitation, he channeled his energy, causing the Aragon to swell up with blackness. He thought to himself, filthy thing. The sound of cracking bones echoed underwater, causing other fish to rush in and devour the corpse. The main character stood firmly on the bottom of the water, moving as freely as if he were taking a stroll, his punches as fast as lightning. If Iron Looper saw this, his jaw would probably drop from shock. Around him, shadowy monsters gathered. He sighed, bored. Fighting them one by one is a real hassle. An immense surge of energy exploded from him, creating a shockwave that wiped out everything around him. The force tore through the water. It was an extraordinary sight. As he was leaving, he suddenly saw below him a light. A fish with an unusual gaze flashed. The main character was startled and exclaimed, the nightmare beast Agramos. I can't believe I'm running into this thing here. All the big shots in the old world used to hunt this thing to make a name for themselves when they were nobodies. Damn! His eyes shone with determination. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. It'd be stupid to pass it up. Before him was Agramos, a shadowfish with blazing eyes. This thing has no natural predators. It swallows everything it encounters into its subspace. It bared its teeth, gathering dark energy. The main character tensed, snorting coldly as his eyes narrowed, calculating. Killing it would be a piece of cake, but then I'd lose the subspace. I have to use my mana to crush it and take that space for myself. He gritted his teeth, and with a loud roar, powered up like Goku, causing the surrounding fish to explode in an instant. The pressure from that power still wasn't enough, making him think, at this rate I'm going to get my ass handed to me. He erupted in a great flame and pointed both hands towards his opponent, going all out to compensate for the massive amount of magic being released. The only way is to absorb the dark mana from the deep ocean. Suddenly a stream of fresh blood flowed from his nose. He bitterly realized his own limits. This body is too weak. In my current state, this is still too much for me. With an explosive burst of energy, he yelled, let's finish this! Boom, boom. On the calm surface of the water, an explosion sent water spraying everywhere. Along with the explosion and the current, the fish flew into the air. A blinding light. The battle was over. He smiled triumphantly. Got at Agramos' subspace. Right after, along with the fish, they both fell into the water with a splash. Cut to a while later. The sky turned a warm color. The main character lay unconscious on the shore, then woke up coughing violently. He murmured, did I just pass out? Regaining his composure, he checked his loot. My mana has increased compared to before. That's a huge profit. Then he realized. The real spoils of war, the subspace? This is the best deal of all. The main character stood up straight and threw his weapons and gear into it, his spirits soaring. He let out a yell of relief. All right, there's nothing left to see in this watery rift. Time to close it and go home for some sleep. Today, cut to the Korean Hero Association. In the command office, the secretary said with a heavy expression, although no official announcement has been made, the news about the heroes' deaths is confirmed information. Hearing this, the man replied, we have lost precious talents. The secretary added, I heard this only happened in a few areas with special rifts. Hearing this, the man praised. Hero Seo Dojin was able to seal places like that. He's truly more talented than I thought. Then the secretary mentioned the Ryoma Takaki incident, which was a hot topic, and in the UK incident, the heroine Hyun Ju-yeon was the focus. To be honest, I'm very happy that a hero from our country has become the talk of the town for what she's done. No unusual signs like in Brazil have been found yet, so the shock this time will be even greater. However, because the one in the spotlight this time is one of our own heroes. The man guessed it might be a sudden, localized event, but still warned against jumping to conclusions and requested that they not let up their surveillance, not even for a second. The other person replied seriously, yes, sir. Then he expressed his worry about Seo Dojin. The secretary asked, surprised why. The man explained that Chairman Daniel Lopez of Brazil is notoriously stingy. He would definitely find a way to squeeze Seo Dojin dry while he's there. The secretary chuckled and said, no way. When the man asked again, the secretary laughed and said that it's Lopez who will be cleaned out by Seo Dojin. They both paused, then burst out laughing, admitting that Seo Dojin is truly no ordinary person. Ha ha! The scene shifts to a tense negotiation. Chairman Lopez is loudly demanding something, while Seo Dojin is calm. Lopez yelled that his demand was unreasonable. Then Dojin replied, unreasonable. Then there's nothing left to say. He turned to leave and the chairman panicked, calling after him, telling him to think about the safety of Brazil. Isn't that the duty of an S-rank hero? He then turned his head and asked back, duty I closed 2 rifts by myself. What more duty? Say that to the heroes of Brazil who failed to do their duty. He emphasized that the safety of Brazil had nothing to do with him, and asked back, if a Korean rift turned out like this, would Lopez send heroes to help? Hearing this, the man was speechless. The secretary beside him, seeing this, said desperately, the situation is very serious. Lopez explained that all bodies of water within a 500-kilometer radius of Santarém had become inaccessible. They were powerless against the abnormal area. If this happens again, Brazil is finished. The beautiful woman interjected, saying the answer was simple. Accept Seo Dojin's demands, because compared to the safety of the country, nothing is unreasonable. 3. Lopez sighed and accepted. From now on, he will pay 50,000 for each rift. Dojin closes. The main character smiled and said, you should have just done that from the start. Wouldn't that have been better? He stated his first condition. For the 2 rifts I have already closed, transfer the $100,000 first. The beautiful woman was lost in thought. If this gets out, people will call him a money grubber. But the proud Brazilian Association won't reveal it. And even if it did get out, Dojin wouldn't care. This really kills 2 birds with 1 stone for him. 3. The main character's eyes glinted thoughtfully as he mused. The perfectly safe house he wanted has been prepared. I've kept my promise. Are you satisfied? The Brazilian government didn't want to accept, but had no choice. And they even asked him to sign a confidentiality agreement so public opinion wouldn't be affected. Therefore, his image was not negatively affected. At the funeral to send off the heroes who lost their lives, the main character and the beautiful woman were also present. Both of them wore looks of grief. Scene changes to the hotel. Young Inju asked if he would go with them to the next rift, then realized he didn't look interested. The main character said he was thinking about which option would be most beneficial. She then asked beneficial how. He explained that while he closes one rift, their guild will move to the entrance of the next one. They would close the second one together. Then, while they clean up together, I'll go close another one. The group's eyes widened in amazement when they realized he could close up to 3 rifts in a single day. He also said that for the rifts they close together, he would share the rewards. 4. The group gasped in amazement. He warned them not to overdo it before he arrived. Just protect your guild members. And he asked the beautiful woman if she could do it since she was S-rank. She blushed and said yes. Those around them began to whisper. What were those 2 just whispering about? They're probably just encouraging each other. Look at Hero Hyun Ju-yeon's face, it's all red. They must really be dating, haha. She added, let's head out after we finish eating. Cut to a rocky mountain area covered in green grass. His eyes were fixed on a giant monster, a one-eyed creature like a cyclops. The monster let out a savage roar. The main character smirked. Let's see. But in a split second, he had teleported behind the monster. The Cyclops was startled, its eye wide. He stood towering before the monster, smiling triumphantly. Time to earn some pocket money. A punch echoed throughout the forest. The monster's face contorted from the attack as it growled in frustration. The main character looked on nonchalantly and said to himself, as expected, tough as iron, "Let me test out my new skill." It roared and charged at him. Just then, the main character delivered a kick straight to its snout, causing fresh blood to spurt out in a stream. It seemed to take heavy damage, and it roared in fury, the sound echoing throughout the mountains. Just then, from his hand, he deployed the subspace, luring it to put its hand in. And from behind the monster's head, another subspace appeared, linking them together. Its own punch struck it from behind. The main character broke into a sweat and thought to himself, applying it in a real fight, the efficiency isn't that high yet. The amount of mana consumed is insane. Cut to the monitoring room. An announcement rang out. The rift in the southern Moru region has been taken care of. The chairman frowned, looking at the red dot and thinking, cleaned up a rift in just 8 hours. Pay them immediately. Hearing this, the assistant replied instantly, "Yes, sir." A notification appeared on the phone. 50,000 transfer successful. The man turned and asked immediately, "But at this rate, in just a few more days, the budget we have to spend will hit the $1 billion mark, sir." The old man rested his chin on his hand and added, "There's no way I'm letting him walk away with all of that." Hearing this, the assistant replied, "So you intend for us to skip out on this payment?" The man, realizing the situation, snapped, "Idiot. What if Seo Dojun quits because of that?" The man asked back, "Then what do you plan to do?" The old man decided on a plan. "Immediately summon all nearby A-rank and S-rank heroes. We'll form a special task force to race against Seo Dojun." The old man offered a 10,000 reward and ordered his staff to support them to the teeth. "Force them to close the gates before Seo Dojun for my sake." The staff shouted, "Yes, sir!" The old man was excited. "All right, this is a race," he declared. Seo Dojun versus the International Hero Alliance. Let's see which side can handle more. Cut to another location. The man was holding a phone and said in surprise, "Chairman Lopez, huh?" So he finally decided on this plan. The secretary beside him continued, "The rumors about the S-rank hunters dying are spreading everywhere, making the situation chaotic. It's making everyone scared." Then the man said, 10,000 split among everyone is a bit cheap, but going in a big group like this is a sure thing. But we're all on the same team, everyone. If I have to be on the same team as that bastard Seo Dojun, it'll be a pain in the ass." Then the assistant immediately clarified, "Seo Dojun's name is not on the list." The man was surprised. "What? Let me see." "It's true. On top of that, both Hyunju Yeon and Young Inju have also disappeared from the list. What the hell is going on?" Cut to the main character. The beautiful woman turned to ask about finances. "Is the association paying up properly?" The screen showed a transfer notification. "Ping USD 50,000. He confirmed immediately. "Seems legit." Then she added, "The fee they're paying you must be too steep." So they gathered all the foreign hunters together into one team. He nodded. The association isn't stupid, I see." Then she continued, "You're very generous, Mr. Dojun. In a way, the association is playing dirty." Hearing this, he thought to himself, "They've already prepared the money they originally intended to pay me. The agreement with the soul of this body has been settled, so money isn't an issue anymore. From now on, there are more urgent things to do." The race began. The results came in with astonishing speed, exactly as the Brazilian Association had anticipated. 1500 hours Gate A035 closed. 1710 hours Gate C012 closed. Executor Seo Dojun and the Silk Flower Guild. 2150 hours Gate A037 closed. Executor Hero Alliance Team. Alliance Damage Report. 1 S-rank and 5 A-ranks with minor injuries. 2 A-ranks critically injured. A panicked scream, "Get the medical team now!" 2, and the report from the other side. Deployment Team Seo Dojun solo. A few days later. A man with dark circles under his eyes that reached his chin lamented, "I barely got a wink of sleep, but it didn't help." He explained the situation. The dark mana gates are closing quickly, but because of that, other gates are being neglected. Agents have to be on duty 24/7, stretched thin as a rubber band. Beep. An alert sounded. The last red dot had disappeared. A roar of cheers erupted. Dojun and the heroes finally did it. The main character and the other heroes had succeeded. They closed all the gates.